Alright, should be live. There we go. Just need to switch over to me. Inside tube. And muted. Alright, cool. We're live. And, there's a number of news items today, but the big one that I'm going to be saying over and over again because it's so good is that Benjamin Netanyahu is gone. He is gone. And I've got the perfect emote for it. Oh shit. Keyboard switch to Chinese. I've got the perfect emote to spam. Unfortunately, the emote wall doesn't do animation yet. But there we go. Alright, let's see. Alright. Nothing new from the Matrix. I'm gonna go post in the leftypol thread that the news stream is starting. And where else? I'll post it in the SciTube thread to keep that bumping. And I'll tweet it as well. Benjamin Netanyahu is gone. There we go. Alright, make sure I am live. Good. I mean, it's not a huge surprise, I guess, but hey, it's good news. He started all this shit recently, hoping that the crisis would give him the ability to hold on to power, and it didn't work. In fact, it backfired. Maybe we should look into the replacements he's gonna get. Me grab. Actually, no, wait, that's in the thread. I don't need to pull it up on Twitter. Just scroll down and click. Let me disable auto updates. There we go. Yeah, so that's the Twitter. That's the tweet. We'll see. I know I was gonna post in this bump the SciTube thread. Let people know I'm live. Oh, I just realized I should have worn the red bandana to go with the flowers. Whatever. Let's see, I wonder... Oh yes, SciTube is still on the overboard, so it's been bumped recently, that's good. Let's see, get everybody in here. Oh, maybe I should start with First Strike, so that I can maybe pull some people in from Twitch before we get to discussing Netanyahu getting wrecked. Let's see, I'll pull up some, pull up the DJ, and I'll queue up the Crab Rave celebration. There we go. Oh, yeah. So Netanyahu's been ousted as PM to be replaced with Bennett is the one who's going to replace him. So Bennett will serve first until 2023, and Lapid will take over until 2025. That's how it's looking right now. Just waiting for everybody to roll in. I'm gonna keep posting the crabs in honor of Netanyahu getting wrecked. He really fucked up the whole thing. This really is like looking bad for Israel. So if he had just like allowed himself to lose power gracefully, maybe none of this shit would be happening. But I feel like the conditions are already there, and we're probably going to work this way eventually regardless. So, oh, thanks for the song request, Clash. So it says he's going to be inaugurated in 10 days, which would be, it's the 28th. So then the 7th of June. Yeah. Let me pull up, I'll look up these guys. Now let me post the crabs again. There we are. Alright. So Yair Lapid and Naftali Bennett are the guys who are looking like they're going to replace, well, what's his name? Benjamin Netanyahu. Alright, Wikipedia doesn't look good at all when you try to compress it that much. See if I can stretch it a little bit. You know what? I'm not gonna tile the. I'm gonna untile the tab stack. Actually, I'll just ungroup it first. You can rerun crabs before. Oh, I'm just gonna I'll queue the crabs again. I'm gonna keep queuing that one up because it's that kind of night. All right, so let's see. I need to resize this so you can actually see the guy's face. All right, BB is gone. Here's the news. I'm gonna keep the tab open so I can keep informing people as they come in throughout the night, I assume. From Disclosed TV, just in. PM Netanyahu ousted as Lapid and Bennett agree on cabinet formation, according to Israeli media. Bennett will serve as first PM until 2023, when Lapid will take over until 2025. Swearing in to take place in 10 days following an announcement of the new government. From Jerusalem Post. Well, let me search on Twitter for Netanyahu. See what else we can find. Oh, here's Bibi himself.
Today's shameful decision is yet another example of the UN Human Rights Council's blatant anti-Israel obsession.
Oh, that's yesterday. So he's talking about the fucking human rights violation thing. That's what that's about. Let me see if I can find, is there something he said more recently about this? It was apparently Jerusalem Post that said it. He's tweeting, retweeting.
The scam is inconceivable. It is not only a blatant violation of all Bennett's promises for a few weeks ago, but also of a few days ago.
This, who is it? This is Likud Party? Yeah, this is a Likud Party tweet. Also a few days ago when Bennett said during the fight against Hamas that the left-wing government had fallen out of favor. What has changed? Nothing. Bennett fled to the left and right became complaining about them commies and socialists are taking over. The left wing is taking over. It's not, but they're worried the left wing is taking over the Israeli government. This is funny. More who believe... Q is a question. More who believes that Bennett is not galloping to the left. Right-wingers wake up. Bennett fled from a joint agreement reached with the Likud to form a right-wing government, and he ran to a left-wing government with Lapid, Meretz, Labour, and the Joint. They plan to announce this on the next day and swear on the left-wing government next week. So yeah, he's fucking... They're freaking out because of the new, and this is 7 hours ago, so... It just says Shabbat Shalom to you, so like, fucking whatever. Oh, wait a minute. No, Friday is the... Saturday is the Jewish holy day. Yeah, Friday is the Muslim holy day. It would have been funny if they booted him out of office on the holy day. Truth alarms here. We have made big concessions to reach an agreement with Bennett. Didn't work. And Shaked, but they refused to sign and continue to run for a dangerous left-wing government. Bennett and Shaked, you promised not to go with the left, and they got to go with Lapid. You have time to recover. Oh, this makes it so much better.
לחתום. אבל הוא יודע יפה מאוד שהסדר הוא הפוך, קודם יהיה 59 ואחר כך 61. רק עכשיו יצאנו ממלחמה, ממערכה צבאית, והיה ברור תוך כדי המאבק שאי אפשר להילחם בחמאס מתוך ממשלת שמאל. אי אפשר להילחם בפורעים שהיו כאן בתוך הארץ מתוך ממשלת שמאל. אי אפשר להגן על חיילי צה"ל מפני העמדה לדין כפושעי מלחמה בהאג מתוך ממשלת שמאל. אי אפשר למנוע התקריות עכשיו למדינה פלסטינית ולחלוקת ירושלים מתוך ממשלת שמאל. אי אפשר. אז לכן, אני לא...
I'm like so happy that he got wrecked about this because he was trying so hard to hold on to the power. Israel got blown the fuck out by Hamas and now he's getting kicked out. Beautiful. Oh, you have to capitalize jam. Oh, I fucked it up too. Hold on. There you go. I think I have both. Let me see, I think I have both in the Twitch chat. I do, except I fucked up the crab rate. Wait a minute, what did I... Oh, wait, no, it worked. Hyde Amendment gonna get nuked. Don't, hold on, don't, let's not plan on the parade yet. We're happy that we're celebrating Netanyahu getting wrecked. Hold on, don't, whatever, don't bring in a bunch of other stuff. Hold on, we get to that in a second. There we go. Alright, so yeah, so that's a big deal. This is gonna weaken the fuck out of Israel, and it's gonna make it even easier for Hamas and Israel's neighbors to feel secure, and for U.S. projection of power to weaken. But so these are the two guys who are in charge of the coalition that's replacing Netanyahu. So we've got Yair Lapid, who is like, he's currently Minister of Finance. He is apparently like sort of a centrist. He's chairman of the Yesh Atid, which is like in favor of like secular liberalism, sort of. And Naftali Bennett is like a right-winger. He's the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, or he was the Minister. He was Minister of Diaspora Affairs. Now he's Minister of Defense. He's leader for the New Right and Yamina. So they're obviously like a more right-wing party. We'll see how this coalition between these two sides goes. Like, these two were the ones who came to the agreement about the new government. Let's see. So the New Right is a right-wing political party in Israel, established in December 2018. Aims to be a right-wing party open to both religious and secular people. They didn't win any seats in April, but it won 3 seats in April 2019, but won 3 seats in the September 2019 election and retained them in March 2020. So not a big party. I guess maybe they just were big enough to make the coalition. They only have their slogan is right-wing responsibly, and they have 7 of 120 seats in the Knesset. So does Yamina. Or is it the same? Is that the same deal? Okay. Oh, I see. Yamina is an alliance of right-wing parties, configured as the New Right and the Union of Right-Wing Parties, the Union of the Jewish Home and Takuma, which are Orthodox Jewish Religious Zionist Party and a religious Zionist party. So properly right wing, but don't have that many seats all put together. Just 7 of 120. But apparently that was enough to partner with the centrists. Let's see which one was. So he's also Lapid's the opposition leader in the Knesset. So where's the name of his? There's a link right up here that I just clicked on to link to his group. Yeah, but he's I'm trying to find his Yesh Atid. It's down here, or is it? Yeah, same thing. So centrist political party. It's got 17 seats in the Knesset. So, not sure how they've got so much support. They've only got 24 seats between them. But apparently they've got enough to form a new government and replace
Bibi Netanyahu.
So we'll see more of that as that develops. This is like a new piece of news that we just came across. This is like very much breaking it in progress. But he's supposed to be ousted in 10 days, replaced by Bennett, Naftali Bennett, who will be the prime minister for 2 years until 2023, followed by Yair Lapid, who will be prime minister from 2023 till 2025. And let's see. Shit, I forgot what I was looking up. Yeah, so that's happening now. We're not sure what else might develop with that. Breaking news, though. All right, let's go back to the regular news, though. I'll keep all that stuff up because it's like the big news right now. So we're gonna keep going back to it if new people come in and start asking about it. Let me show you. Yeah, turn that back on. But yeah, we'll keep coming back to the whole Netanyahu being gone thing. Because that more stuff might come out about that. He tweeted about it and stuff. So, all right. As usual, I'll take stuff that people post in the chat more. I'll put it earlier in the queue, so I'll get to it first before I get on to stuff in News Anon's posts here. But I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to go through the stuff that seems the most significant. But without doing any more distractions, let's go ahead and get started. So first story today, Uber has recognized a union for drivers for the first time. This is from Vice. But this is like a big, there we go. I'll close that for now, actually. That's a big deal. I want to get to that early on. Nicaragua to grant 30,000 property titles this year. She ratified the delivery of 612 rural house titles, 953 urban titles, and 335 land titles to producers in communities such as Jinotega, Matagalpa, Nueva Segovia, Leon, Madriz, and Carazo. On Thursday, 236 land titles were granted to Tipitapa, Mura, Blanco, San Lorenzo, and Managua's 5th and 7th districts. So seeing some land reform in Nicaragua, potentially. Might be interesting. Negotiation over protests in Colombia remains stalled. Alright, that's going to be another top story. Get to early on. Colombia's been a huge deal. Everything is chaos under heaven right now. And anything that's related to the West and capitalist empire is slowly losing its power. The narco state is wildly unstable. But we'll see how that progresses. CPP, 4 alleged members of NPA hit squad murdered by security forces. In its initial report yesterday, the human rights group belled the non-Lebanon storyline concocted and peddled by... Whoops. But went back. There we go. That was the wrong one. Belied. Need to clean my glasses. Belied the non-Lebanon storyline concocted and peddled by the PNP and NTF ELCAC, Residents in the area interviewed by the fact-finding team said they only heard 8 gunshots during the incidents, belying the police story of a firefight. Okay. Let's put that up ahead of the Nicaragua story, because that's a continuation. We've looked at. I think we've seen some. Actually, let's just go ahead and read this because it's pretty short. CPP: 4 alleged members of NPA hit squad murdered by security forces. Marco Balbuena, Chief Information Officer, Communist Party of the Philippines, May 24, 2021. 4 members of a so-called NPA hit squad who died during a raid in Barangay Macabling, Santa Rosa, Laguna on May 21st were not killed in a shootout, contrary to the claims of the police and the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, NTFEL-CAC. An initial fact-finding investigation conducted by Karapatan Southern Tagalog, acting on the request of the family of Ramon Riza, ascertained that the victims were summarily executed by the 202nd Infantry Brigade, AFP, and Philippine National Police Special Action Forces, PNP-SAF, under the pretext of serving an arrest warrant against Riza. They also determined that there were 4 victims and not 3, as claimed by police reports. In its initial report today, the human rights group called the Anon storyline concocted and peddled by the PNP NTF ELCAC. Wait. Okay. It's just kind of a strange way of constructing that sentence. Residents in the area interviewed by the fact-finding team said they only heard 8 gunshots during the incident, belying the story of a police story of a firefight. The report of the team suggests the victims were likely killed while asleep or lying down as evidenced by bloodstains on their beds. We're still determining the identities of those killed. The massacre follows a pattern of Tokhang-style killings perpetrated by state agents against unarmed activists and revolutionary leaders. These operations are typically conducted under the pretext of law enforcement operations in the early hours of the morning. So, you know, continuing to fucking just murder communists. And not just communists, but anybody who's like an activist for some kind of substantial change. But, you know, priority goes to killing the communists, because that's the biggest threat. Alright. We'll get to that one in a second. It's, U.S. tells Russia it won't rejoin Open Sky's Arms Control Pact. Thursday's decision means only one major arms control treaty between the nuclear powers, the New START treaty, will remain in place. Trump had done nothing to extend the New START, which would have expired earlier this year, but after taking office, the Biden administration moved quickly to extend it for 5 years and opened a review into Trump's Open Skies Treaty withdrawal. Alright, so might be some cooling down of tensions between the US and Russia going on there. We'll see. We'll see how far that goes with Biden. Iraqi elections to go ahead despite boycott calls. About 600 people have been killed since an uprising began in October 2019, demanding real and meaningful political change and an end to the current system of government. The Iraqi Communist Party announced that it was suspending electoral activities until the government acts to bring the perpetrators of the killings to justice. Alright, so things aren't going as well in Iraq as they could have been. They're agreeing that they want to, from previous stories, they're agreeing they want to push out the United States now, but they have having trouble with restoring this their government. They might have to reformulate it. U.S. oil companies' Syria operations canned by Biden administration. Interesting. A politically connected U.S. oil company will likely no longer be able to operate in northeast Syria after the Biden administration declined to renew its waiver. Permissions given to Delta Crescent Energy, DCE, in April 2020 under former President Donald Trump, who pledged to keep the oil produced by the region, will not be renewed. A U.S. official familiar with the decision told the Associated Press. So, yet again, we've got a story of the empire waning. There's a pulling back from that presence in West Asia. Very fucking interesting. Right, Armenia and Azerbaijan in fresh standoff over landmined border, with Armenian soldiers captured and accused of supplying route sabotage. However, later on Thursday, Armenia's acting Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan insisted the soldiers had been abducted from within the country's own territory. Our servicemen carried our work on the arrangement to the border with Azerbaijan and on mining with the installation of warning signs. There was no purpose of sabotage, he said. That might be interesting. Saudi-led coalition says it's behind military buildup on Red Sea Island. The Saudi-led coalition engaged in Yemen said on Thursday it had established a presence on the strategic island in the entrance to the Red Sea to counter perceived threats to the maritime trade from the Iran-aligned Houthi movement. So that's probably not good for Yemen. Ethiopia's reported filing of Nile Dam heats up tensions with Egypt, Sudan. Egypt and Sudan held joint military drills in Sudan this week, and reports that Ethiopia had begun a second filling of its controversial Nile Dam. Egyptian ground, naval, and air forces, including special forces and paratroopers, participated in the Guardians of the Nile exercise, which kicked off Thursday. Egyptian military spokesman said. I guess that was an error. All right. Now let's take a look at let's look at the Armenia and Azerbaijan story. This doesn't look that long. Months after a ceasefire ended the bloody Nagorno-Karabakh war, Armenia and Azerbaijan have accused each other of staging incursions beyond their bitterly contested frontiers after 6 Armenian soldiers were detained on Thursday. The Azerbaijani Defense Ministry issued a statement alleging that on May 27th at about 0300, a reconnaissance and sabotage group of armed forces of Armenia made an attempt to cross the state border. Officials alleged that the 6 men captured were attempting to lay mines and disrupt supply lines with what it described as a terrorist act. However, later on Thursday, Armenia's acting Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan insisted the soldiers had been abducted from within the country's own territory. Our servicemen carried out work on the arrangement of the border of Azerbaijan and on mining with the installation of warning signs. There was no purpose of sabotage, she said. The Armenian Foreign Ministry added that the provocative actions of the military political leadership of Azerbaijan are aimed at further aggravating the situation, which could seriously undermine regional peace and stability. However, Azerbaijan has similarly accused its neighbor of violating the terms of the Moscow-brokered trilateral agreement, which had put a pause on the fierce fighting that claimed the lives of thousands of soldiers on both sides during the brief Nagorno-Karabakh war. In November last year, Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev signed a ceasefire agreement to freeze the conflict over the disputed region. Nagorno-Karabakh is considered a de jure part of Azerbaijan, but was home to many ethnic Armenians and run almost autonomously by officials with close ties to Yemen, or Yerevan. Fuck. The deal saw Armenia relinquish control over swaths of territory. However, it has been marred by allegations from both sides and a fear that the conflict could once again heat up. Earlier this month, Pashinyan claimed Azerbaijani forces had attempted to sneak into the country using fake ID cards in order to in order to surround a strategic lake that straddles the border. In February, Baku accused Armenian troops of firing across the frontier in what is described as a flagrant breach of the ceasefire. Yerevan denies the allegations. Let me pull up a map real quick to show the this border.
You want to take us to Jerusalem so we can die as a nation.
Probably easiest to show it with Armenia.
And fight for our liberation. We'd rather stay in the diaspora and wait for our liberation.
It's not good enough. How well can you see this map? I think that's good enough. So yeah, Armenia is this this little country right next to Turkey on the west, and Azerbaijan's to the east. Georgia. So let's see how well you can see. So Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan. I think that's. Let me just make sure. I believe that I got those in the right place. I don't want to mislead anybody. Yeah. Yeah, that's. Here we go. This is actually a better map for some reason. Yeah. So here you've got there you go. It's Armenia and Azerbaijan. So here's Armenia, and here's Azerbaijan. And you can see Armenia right there. And that's Turkey to the west for context. So possible stuff heating up there on that border. And here's some more West Asia, Middle East news. Saudi-led coalition says it's behind military buildup on Red Sea Island. Actually, is that... Thanks for the song request, Red Sea Island. Is it not like a specific island? A Saudi-led military coalition engaged in Yemen said on Thursday to establish presence on a strategic island in the entrance to the Red Sea to counter perceived threats to maritime trade from the Iran-aligned Houthi movement. The statement was issued in response to an Associated Press report citing Yemeni officials stating the United Arab Emirates was behind an airbase that had emerged on Param Island. That's what it is, Param Island, also known as Mayoun. There we go. See if we can find a good map showing the strategic. Alright, so I am going to need to find a map of the Red Sea as well to properly show that. There we go. Yeah, so Param Island is near the entrance of the Red Sea. So here we've got Africa, we've got the Arabian Peninsula here, and then the Red Sea, separated from the Mediterranean Sea here by the Suez Canal, and then Param, the island in question, is at the entrance of the Red Sea. So you can see right here. So it's like a strategic choke point, because actually, let me see. Yeah, so this is Yemen over here, and that's Djibouti. So see if I can find the exact spot on this map. So this island is like somewhere right around here, I think. Then because Yemen is like this area of the Arabian Peninsula. Saudi Arabia being, of course, like all up in here. So yeah. Statement was issued in response. Yeah. Param Island, also known as Mayun, on the vital Bab al-Mandab Strait. Yeah, it's the Strait of Mandab, south entrance to the Red Sea, off the southwest coast of Yemen, belonging to Yemen. Oh, so it's also territory of Yemen. The AP said it obtained satellite images showing a 1.85 kilometer runway on Param, along with 3 hangars. Damn, so they're just setting stuff up there. Here's the satellite image, it looks like. Mysterious airbase being built on volcanic island off Yemen. When is this from? This was a couple days ago. 3 days ago, May 25th. All equipment currently present on Mayun Island is under control of the Coalition Command and is situated there to counter the Houthi militia, secure maritime navigation, and support West Coast forces, said a settlement on Saudi state news agency SPA. Citing an unnamed official in the coalition, the official dismissed it as baseless reports that Emirati forces were present on Param and Socotra Islands, saying current UAE efforts were focused on providing air support for coalition operations in the mainland city of Marib, which Houthi forces are trying to seize. UAE authorities have not yet commented on the AP report. The Gulf state withdrew most of its forces from Yemen in 2019, but maintains influence via southern fighters it armed and trained. Param, a lump of volcanic rock providing a foothold astride major trade routes, was captured by the coalition in 2015 after it intervened in Yemen against the Houthis, who ousted the internationally recognized government from the capital of Sana'a. The Bab al-Mandab Strait, where the Red Sea meets the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea, is only 20 kilometers, 12 miles wide, making hundreds of ships potentially an easy target. The Yemen conflict is seen in the region as a proxy war between rivals, Saudi Arabia and Iran. The Saudi-led coalition accuses Iran of supplying the Houthis with their arsenal of drones and missiles, an allegation denied by both. The war has been a military stalemate for years, with the Houthis holding most big urban areas. The United States and the United Nations are pressing for a ceasefire deal. And of course, Saudi Arabia has been bombing Yemenis with U.S. military hardware, U.S. Military planes and bombs being sold to them by the U.S. Let's see if we have any more pictures we can look at here. Just the one satellite image. Yeah, so that's the strip that they built out there. There. See, I'm checking the Wikipedia page for this island to see if there's any better pictures of it. Yeah. So that's potentially an issue for trade because of the significance of the Red Sea. Yeah, aside from the Yemen conflict, that could give Saudi Arabia more control over the trade routes moving through there and global trade as a result. As you may remember, global trade was disrupted for several days when the Ever Given container ship was stuck in the Suez Canal. And this could cause a similar blockage of trade routes if Saudi Arabia wanted to. And also in Africa, Ethiopia's reported filling of the Nile Dam heats up tensions with Egypt, Sudan. Cairo is ramping up pressure on Addis Ababa again in tandem with Khartoum's forces. Egypt and Sudan held joint military drills in Sudan this week amid reports that Ethiopia had begun a second filling of its controversial Nile Dam. Egyptian, they don't have a map. Let me find a map of the Nile Dam in a second. Egyptian ground, naval, and air forces, including special forces and paratroopers, participated in the Guardians of the Nile exercise, which kicked off Thursday. An Egyptian military spokesman said. Sudanese media announced the exercise last week, saying that Egyptian soldiers had arrived in Khartoum Air Base and others were expected to arrive by ship. The exercise is expected to continue through the weekend and is aimed at strengthening ties and unifying methods to deal with threats that both countries expectedly face, according to Sudan's state-run Suna news agency. The two countries previously combined forces and training drills in April. These exercises took place after negotiations aimed at easing tensions with Addis Ababa fell through in Kinshasa. Cairo and Khartoum first began joint military exercises in November in response to what they perceive as a refusal by Ethiopian Prime Minister Ahmed Abiy's government to commit to written guarantees on the dam's usage. Egypt in particular fears the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam could severely reduce its access to Nile water, potentially threatening the livelihoods and lives of millions of people, and also the water supply. Egypt already recycles more fresh water than any other country in Africa to support its agriculture and 100 million people. Alright, so let's find a map of the Nile River and these dams so we can see what we're dealing with here. Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. See if there's a good. Here's the good one. Here's the good map. All right, so here's Eastern Africa, or Northeastern Africa. We got Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, and then over here we got Ethiopia. And this actually doesn't. This doesn't actually have the label on it because they only put that on the Wikipedia page, but the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is going to be right on the Ethiopian border, where the Nile River flows through the border into Sudan. And this is the Blue Nile section of the Nile River. Okay. Zoom in here. So here we've got Egypt, and their big dam is the Aswan High Dam here in southern Egypt. Ethiopia is building the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, like right up here. This map, for some reason, Wikipedia has like their web page only render the mark on the page itself, but not on the file for the map. But it's right here, right before the border into Sudan. So that's the area we're talking about. Which means, that's going to have a huge effect downstream, be a big issue for Egypt and Sudan, which the river flows through after that point. Oops. Let's see, Egypt in particular fears the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam could severely reduce access to Nile water. You read that. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi issued a hedged warning following the collapse of the Kinshasa talks in April, saying, "I tell our Ethiopian brothers, you should not reach the level that you mess with a water drop in Egypt because all options are open. Cooperation between each other and building together is much better than when we disagree and struggle," Sisi had at the time. So, making threats. Well, of course, they've got that part of the river, which means that they've got the power in that situation. But Egypt has plenty of ability to try to resist economically and militarily if it comes to that. So if the negotiations seem to not work, this might become a war potentially. Egypt has been building defense and intelligence ties with East African countries as more than a decade of talks with Ethiopia over the dam continue to falter. A military delegation from Cairo signed a defense agreement with officials in Kenya on Wednesday, following agreements with Burundi and Uganda earlier this year. The U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa region, Ambassador Jeffrey Feltman, is returning to the region amid broader tensions that threaten to destabilize the area, the State Department said Wednesday. Ethiopia's border dispute with Sudan and concerns over Addis Ababa's continued violence in the Tigray region have U.S. officials concerned that a regional conflict could result, though there is some skepticism in Washington as to Egypt's desire to engage in a conflict over the dam. But the issue might be forced, is the thing. I mean, there's not, the river flows from south to north. So, they've got the ability to build the dam, and, you know, may not be able to do anything about it. Egypt may not be able to do anything about it without resorting to military action.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, Pleasant? You hear the news about,
Bibi Netanyahu?
I might need to queue up. The crab rape again, because Bibi Netanyahu is being removed from office. Prime Minister Netanyahu, see if I can forward this. There we go. Prime Minister Netanyahu ousted as Lapid and Bennett agree on cabinet formation, according to Israeli media. So, he started all this bullshit trying to stay in office, and now he's getting kicked out. So, Bibi is gone. And so the plan is Bennett will serve for 2 years, and then Lapid will serve for 2 years. He only held this position because of the U.S. Yeah, he was a moron, and he fucked himself over. But he also fucked Israel over at the same time. This is the fact that they're amid this kind of situation, this like crisis, and having to change their leadership is very bad for them. He benefited nobody except his own self, and even then they didn't really get much out of that.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes
these kind of people are just, you know, the power hungry ones, like a cartoon villain or something.
I want to take over Israel, and I want to be the ruler. I want to be in charge.
It's like that's all that it is to them. But it's also funny because he was like, you find Netanyahu again. He was tweeting about this in the lead up, which is hilarious.
So,
alright, these are tweets from today about it. This is from yesterday. This was what he was saying yesterday before it became like this was announced. We have made big concessions to reach an agreement with Bennett and Shaked. Bennett is part of like the right wing, a right wing party. The New Right is the name of this party. And Netanyahu says, we've made big concessions to reach an agreement with Bennett and Shaked, but they refuse to sign and continue to run for a dangerous left-wing government. Bennett and Shaked, you promised not to go with the left and not to go with Lapid. You have time to recover. Recover. Truth alarm, share. We have made big concessions. Yeah. So like, he's like, oh no, they're gonna run away to the left. He was getting preemptively butt mad And then he's retweeting Likud Party's tweets after the announcement, I think. This was 7 hours ago. Is there anyone else who believes that Bennett is not galloping to the left? And to be clear, the Yair Lapid that he's working with is a centrist. Still like a Zionist and stuff, but just like tolerant of secularism. Whereas Bennett is like a bit big on Orthodox Judaism. And like securing Jewish identity and that kind of stuff. We're saying, is there anyone who believes that Bennett is not galloping to the left? Right-wingers, wake up. Bennett fled from a joint agreement reached with the Likud to form a right-wing government, and he ran for a left-wing government with Lapid, Meretz, Labor, and the Joint. They plan to announce this in the next day and swear in the left-wing government next week. So they haven't like officially announced it yet. This is like insider information, it seems like. And then this is the other tweet that Benjamin Netanyahu retweeted. The scam is inconceivable. It's not only a blatant violation of all Bennett's promises from a few weeks ago, but also a few days ago, when Bennett said during the fight against Hamas that the left-wing government had fallen out of favor. What has changed is nothing. Bennett fled to the left and the right became left. So yeah, they're lamenting that the Israeli government's not going to be as rabidly right-wing anymore. So yeah, 10 days is supposed to be the swearing in for Bennett, and then Lapid would be the next one. So it's going to be the guy from the New Right, and then it's going to be, which is Naftali Bennett. This guy will be the next Prime Minister of Israel. Sworn in 10 days. And then 2 years later, Yair Lapid will be the next one. So it'll be Bennett from 2021 to 2023 and Lapid from 2023 to 2025. That's the plan. So yeah, that's like the big recent news that we got. Yeah, 3 hours ago this was tweeted. But the Likud party was tweeting about it even earlier. What are people saying here? No matter how good or bad he did, 15 years in power is definitely enough. Human being corrupted. Okay, sure, whatever. Just a generic post. For anyone who asked, Bennett is more radical right than Netanyahu. Lapid is center. He is the Biden of Israel. It's a unite coalition with the right, center, and left parties to kick Netanyahu out. There is even an Islamic Palestinian party participating in this coalition. Oh my god. I didn't read this part. That's fucking interesting. So there's like, it's like a coalition of several different parties, including some left-wing parties. Or, you know, as left-wing as you get in Israel. But apparently, even an Islamic Palestinian party in the coalition. So nobody wants Netanyahu right now. But I imagine that that's a coalition that's not going to hold together very well for a long time. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, this is a sign that Israel doesn't have a grip on its situation right now. So yeah, do another crab rave. Alright. More West Asian news. It seems more like an anti-Netanyahu group than a pro-anything. Yes. Netanyahu is basically just... I mean, he caused like the 11 days of back and forth firing with Gaza was largely spurred on by Netanyahu, hoping that he was going to use it to secure his position, which didn't work at all. Completely backfired. So, you know, nobody wants that kind of shit happening. So, easy to unite people over that. But How easy is it going to be? God damn it, why am I so tired today? How easy is it going to be to hold that coalition together if it's got like a smattering of everybody in it? Alright, so anyway, more West Asia news. U.S. oil companies' Syrian operations canned by Biden administration. Also, more news in terms of the waning of the U.S. empire. President Joe Biden's administration has maintained the U.S. is not in Syria to keep the oil, as former President Trump once put it. A politically connected U.S. oil company will likely no longer be able to operate in northeastern Syria after the Biden administration declined to renew its waiver. Permissions given to Delta Crescent Energy DCE in April 2020 under former President Donald Trump, who had pledged to keep the oil produced in the region, will not be renewed, a U.S. official familiar with the decision told the Associated Press. Under U.S. law, most U.S. companies are prohibited from doing business in Syria without explicit permission from the federal government. When the oil company was issued a waiver last year, opponents of the Trump administration decried the move as political. Let me actually, for this one, let me cue. There we go. Let me cue up this song for the story. And I gotta ask, who must go? It's genuinely interesting. I wonder why. I don't know why. So, the grip of the West on Syria is weakening. Under U.S. law, most U.S. Oh yeah, I already said. Opponents of the Trump administration decried the move as political. Yeah, Trump giving them the ability to get the oil. DCE was incorporated in 2019 by GOP donor James Cain. Of course, it was. Who also served as U.S. ambassador to Denmark under President George W. Bush. James Reese, a retired Army Delta Force officer, and John Doria Jr., a former executive with United Kingdom-based Gulf Sands Petroleum. Don't you just love what a big happy family all this shit is? All these people who were just a bunch of buddies in these administrations. Having just bros being bros, going and stealing oil from West Asia, Middle East, and North Africa. Doria, who serves as the company's CEO, has warned that the company has some $2 billion in pending contracts to sell oil to U.S. regional allies who helped fight the Islamic State group. If the Biden administration chooses not to renew the federal license, it will be a substantial change in policy that does not support coalition allies who fought and died to eliminate ISIS, Doria said in a statement, as quoted by the AP. Depriving our allies of the opportunity for sanctions relief on a critical infrastructure as laid out by the Obama administration would, in effect, turn the north and east of Syria over to a Russian regime and Iranian forces, Doria said. Plundering Syria's oil and gas. Syria's main oil fields in the country's northeast, a region controlled by the U.S. allied Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces who depend on the oil for income. In August, DCE inked a deal with the Kurds in northern Syria to develop and export the area's crude oil. Meanwhile, the company has said it has not received official notice from the U.S. Treasury Department indicating that its waiver would not be renewed, according to AP. Typically, the department gives companies some warning in order to wrap up operations. Middle East Eye reached out to the White House for comment but did not receive a response by the time of this article's publication. The Pentagon announced in February that the U.S. forces in Syria were not guarding Syria's oil fields as previously ordered by former President Trump and were instead focused on fighting the remnants of the Islamic State group. At the time, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said that U.S. troops had not been involved in Syria's oil fields since DCE's August deal with the Kurds. Still, some troops remain around the oil operations to protect U.S. civilians. Former President Trump withdrew a number of U.S. troops from Syria in 2019, leaving only around 900 behind, which he said remained in order to protect the oil. Syria's ambassador to the United Nations, Bashar al-Jafari, has accused the U.S. of using the multi-sided war to steal the country's oil reserves and other natural resources. The American occupation forces continue to plunder Syria's wealth of oil, gas, and agricultural crops, burning and destroying what it cannot steal, Jafari said in February. So, maybe reality is setting in. Wait, they're turning this over to the Russians. I mean, if the U.S. is pulling out, then Russia is going to be coming in and having more control. So yeah, that's kind of inevitable, I guess.
Russia's the other big power with its fingers in the region.
But yeah, see, this is another sign that the U.S. is no longer powerful enough to extend its reach all through. Oh, maybe, who knows, maybe they just no longer have any interest in the oil there for some reason. But I take this as a sign that the U.S. is losing its grip on their imperialist projects after Hunter Biden was getting all butt buddies with them for the last few years. That's interesting. That's an interesting theory. Yeah, so like under Joe Biden as president, after his son was doing all those negotiations with Russia, maybe there is some kind of deal that was worked out here. That's a good point. That's a very interesting point. Yeah. Either way, though, that's a sign of the U.S. losing control and the sphere of influence shrinking. Let's see. Start pulling up stories from the second post. Well, Russia's now gearing up to do massive exports of oil to Germany. Right, with that pipeline.
What's the name of that pipeline again?
It's gonna go through the North Sea. Let's see, Russian. I'm blanking on the name for some reason. Nord Stream, that's what it is. Yeah. I'll pull that up real quick to... Here is a map. There we go. Yeah. So... here's Russia, and here's... I always forget that it's not that way, it's this way. Here's Germany. If they want to build this Nord Stream pipeline to connect Germany to Russia. So, Russia exporting oil and then getting its hands in Syria as the US pulls out, that does make sense. That's two things that go well together. That's a good fucking observation. I don't remember, but it got the US super butthurt. Yeah, here it is, the Nord Stream. This is some major reversals all of a sudden. It is. And Russia get with like that kind of influence growing now in Syria and in Europe, Western Europe, Central Europe, not the part of Europe that's not Russia, that's not Eastern Europe. That is like Russia could be moving back into like not just a pretty much a regional power, but like a big global power again. Because they've been contesting with the US for spheres of influence for a while now. They might be in a position to help fill that vacuum that the US leaves behind as it wanes where I thought, and I think most people were thinking more that China would be the one doing that. But I guess Russia was prepared for this. I mean, pulling back on aggression on Nord Stream and in Syria, Biden basically just let Russia take over Europe energy imports. Yeah, which is huge for geopolitics. So maybe Russia is just in the right position to take advantage of the situation of the U.S. Declining. It's a big deal. Puerto Rico's Rex utility goes private. Oh no. Bid to save island. I mean... Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot that I was going to... Let me switch over. Damn, they've got a lot of themes now. This is the one, right? Yeah. That's the fun one. Alright. Ugh. Alright, Puerto Rico's Rex utility goes private in bid to save island. Puerto Rico will take a major step toward transforming its government-owned power provider next week as Luma Energy is set to begin operating and managing the utility. Part of the Commonwealth's plan to rehabilitate its aging system and end chronic outages. This isn't gonna go well. Alright. I'll add that to the queue. It's from Bloomberg. Great. USDA rejects request for faster pork slaughterhouse speeds. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has declined a request by the pork industry to increase the speed at which pigs can be processed into meat, delivering a victory to slaughterhouse workers who had raised safety concerns about the plan. Well, that sounds fucking good. That's some good news for workers. Let's move that up with, alongside the Uber workers. And unionizing. That's more good news. Three officers face arraignment in black man's restraint death. 5 weeks after ex-Minneapolis policeman Derek Chauvin was convicted of murdering George Floyd, 3 Washington state officers have been charged with the death of Manuel Ellis, the black man who pleaded for breath under an officer's knee. I think I've seen this story again too. Let's move that one up too, because that could be a signal for things changing. All right. Tech trade groups sue Florida over social media law. We cannot stand idly by as Florida's lawmakers push unconstitutional bills into law that bring us closer to state-run media and a state-run internet, said Net Choice's Vice President Carl Szabo. The First Amendment protects social media platforms' right to host and moderate content as they see fit for their business models and users. Alright, well that's... God damn it. So I'm a big proponent for just collectivizing, socializing, all social media, national or local scale, whatever, it doesn't matter. So like nationalize it, yeah, whatever makes it work. So I don't give a fuck. Oh, state-run internet, whatever. Be better than running it for profit. But I'm not sure what that law is specifically, so I'll pull that up. A not small number of people who want social media to become a utility. I am one of them. Of course, obviously, it's a lot better to have that operating under a socialist government or a socialist system of some kind. But yeah, I would much rather have the government be running that and treat it as just like the same way that like internet would be treated as a utility, where it's just, you just let it run, and you don't fucking, there's no process of like moderation from the side of the provider. Just, it's like net neutrality, same kind of thing. For the internet itself and for public utility social media. I think that position is becoming more popular. I might have to call the stream early. I'm yawning constantly for some reason. Maybe there's some carbon monoxide in here or something. Harris pushes companies to invest in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Harris and the Biden administration is issuing a call to action to companies, banks, and social enterprises to invest in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The initiative is part of an effort to address the root causes of migration, and focusing on businesses reflects a desire to make the economic development last beyond any one administration or congressional funding cycle. So that sounds like some more imperialism targeting Latin America. This honestly reads to me like Biden's cabinet is being forced to make a lot of changes whether they want it or not. Forced by whom, though? Central Valley water allocations for growers slashed to zero. Drought conditions worsen. Great. I think we'll go directly to this story. There are new dire warnings about the lack of water this summer. Let's just open it up. It's not the same. Oh, I already opened it once. Seems to me like the US government is realizing they can't afford to run the system of America is always right. I think that's true. Forced to by the economic downturn being way worse than they wanted. Yeah, I see that. They're not going to give workers anything workers want. Yeah, well, no. Not if they can help it. They might inadvertently do that. They might also do that if people got together and forced it, but that's not happening yet. Yet. But they aren't going to be able to get everything they want anymore either. Yeah. The conditions have changed and they don't have the power they thought they were going to. Central Valley water allocations for growers slashed to zero. Drought conditions worsen. Fuck. Oh shit, fucking ambulance. Well, they're leaving, I guess. Whoever they picked up is in the best care that they're gonna get. Probably gonna pay for it, though. Alright. Fix that up. Redding, California. There are new dire warnings about the lack of water this summer. The Central Valley Water Project has cut agricultural water allocations to zero. Federal regulators with the Bureau of Reclamation issued the new numbers Wednesday. And said since Friday, water conditions have degraded. California drought's unbelievable this year. It's going to keep getting worse every year, man. It's just going to keep getting worse. In February, regulators estimated water allocations would be 5% for agricultural water service contractors in California's Central Valley Project, which includes Shasta Dam. But as of May 26th, the agricultural allocation has been slashed all the way down to zero. The water year in the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Basin is the driest since 1977, which is 34 years? No, 44 years. During April, there was a reduction of 685,000 acre-feet in the projected natural flow of the Sacramento, Feather, Yuba, and American rivers. Allocations for municipal and industrial contractors have been reduced from 55% in February to 25% of historic use. 25. Jesus Christ. The Central Valley Project encompasses 35 counties in an area about 500 miles long and 60 to 100 miles wide, making it the largest reclamation project. The CVP contains some of the country's largest dams, Shasta and San Luis among them. Yeah, almost 45 years. The new instance doesn't allow for Torak. It doesn't? You mean like SciTube? That's weird. Or just the leftypol site in general. Huh. Yeah, I don't know what what's going on like back end with the development. I think that the tech team on the site just copied the SciTube source code and implemented it without modifying anything. I'm not sure. There might have been some modifications that have happened more recently since they set it up a while back, but I'm not aware of the current situation there. All right, I should like actually make some contact about that and figure out exactly what the deal is. Cali uninhabitable in 20 years. You might be a little generous with that estimate. It might happen faster than that. Should I pass this on to someone? Yeah, probably. That's actually, yeah, that's a good point. Put that in like the meta, on the meta board, or I can post that in the matrix for the mods to see. What was it? Error 1020? Yeah. Alright, I'll just put that in there as FYI. But it might be good to have that as like a thread on meta, or I think there's a thread on meta for tech support stuff, so that might be the place for it. I'm not gonna go make that post right now. It's a bit of a longer post. I don't want to interrupt the stream. Yeah, but I posted in the element, the matrix chat. If anybody sees it. Yeah, 20 years, I don't know. It might happen faster if California's uninhabitable, depending on how wild those fires are raging. If there are poorly timed earthquakes and so on. But yeah, there's possibly going to be like no water. But hey, if the sea level rises enough, the Sahara might get inundated with water and might become a lush rainforest again like it used to be tens of thousands of years ago. In case you're not aware, it used to be like full of people. There's like massive rock structures with like paintings and stuff on them from back when the Sahara was a jungle, when like northern Africa was a jungle, because the Mediterranean and the Red Seas were connected. Anyway, probably 2025 at the rate we're going. That might be a little hasty. I would put it at like more like 10 years. That would be my guess for when California is no longer really habitable. At least not at nearly the way that it is now. It's not going to happen all at once, obviously. It's like one day you're going to wake up and nobody can live there, but I don't know what's happened since March 2020. Is it all normalizable? We're in the middle of a great die-off. Yeah. Go from 0% humidity to 1,000% humidity. Yeah. Okay. I know that you don't agree with the climate stuff, Eugene. The water table was too low, so we raised the entire ocean. That's kind of what's happening though. I don't know how much land we're looking at losing. A lot of land was lost when the ocean, I mean, not that this was like a problem necessarily, but a lot of land was lost when sea level rose at the end of the Ice Age with deglaciation. And I guess we're just going to finish that nice and quick now with the rest of the ice melting. I don't see the weather changing too much. You're in the minority then, Eugene. Water situation might be difficult though. Yeah, the water is real bad in California. Anyway, back to the article. Central Valley project encompasses 35 counties in an area about 500 miles long and 60 to 100 miles wide, making it the largest reclamation project. The CVP contains some of the country's largest dams, Shasta and San Luis among them. Alright, so that's the end of it anyway. So, yeah, that's bad news. Yeah, I got various songs. By the way, you can queue up songs if you want directly in the Twitch chat, or you can just tell me to queue something up, and I'll do it manually. But yeah, I've got the auto DJ set up for that. It doesn't have to be left-wing themed music. It's just that's what I've mostly got on the default playlist. It's way less snow here and way more tornadoes. Yeah. And when there is snow in large amounts, it's terrifying. Yeah, the whole what is it, the northern, what's it called? It's not a cyclone, it's the polar vortex. That's been changing recently because of changes in the climate, and there's been times and places where a lot of cold weather surges down from the North Pole suddenly. So it's not always just getting warmer. Like, it is getting warmer on average, but sometimes it gets a lot colder because of destabilized climate. Like, if the Gulf Stream shuts down, Europe is going to get a lot fucking colder. Illinois weather is definitely, yeah. It's not like how it was when I moved through 50. Yep. Yeah, I've noticed that the winters are milder where I am than they used to be. Much less snow on average. Summer seems to start earlier. Like, it's not even summer yet, and there's like plants that normally wouldn't be, but are starting to bolt, meaning like they're shooting up, growing flowers when they'd normally have a longer life cycle of growth first. Yeah, it's definitely changing. Yeah. The polar vortexes in 2000, they took longer to clear, were generally steadier, still sucked. Yeah. It is almost summer, but it's not quite. And like, I started seeing summer heat before, like a while back, like early May. Or late April even. Time just moved. I'm not saying that time goes faster. I'm saying that the onset of the summer heat is earlier. We're almost halfway through the year. Yeah, June is the middle month, but time does go by faster. Your perception of time changes as you age. That's definitely true. It's actually cold here, unusually compared to last month. Well, it's not consistent everywhere, but most people have noticed a change, I'm pretty sure, toward warmer seasonal weather. All right, let's put this one next to the story about Nicaragua, since they're same region. Yeah, let's do that one, then the Nicaragua story, and then Colombia. Harris pushes companies to invest in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Actually noticed that today. Vice President Harris delivers opening remarks at a meeting Thursday with business leaders who gathered to discuss the Northern Triangle in Central America. The region includes Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Actually, let me just pull up, since we're in Central America, let me pull up a Central America map. A quick reference. That's a nice clean one. There we go. There we go. So, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. There you go. And then our next story is going to be Nicaragua. Kamala's been going full eco-fash lately, though. It's a marked difference from the mainstream of the Biden regime. Like she's trying to nudge the public on things to come and speaking for that progressive base. I don't know if you covered Biden budget yet. I didn't see news about the Biden budget. There was something about that I heard, but I didn't see anything in News Anon's post. If you have any like a link or anything about that, I'll be happy to cover it though. Ecofash is just a way for cynical bougies to try to buy themselves a few years while they get their Musk Mars ready. I don't think that moving to Mars is a viable option. Sorry. I just don't see that happening. Good luck. I mean, if they can make Mars livable, they can make Earth livable. Come on. They're putting their hopes on Elon. Oh boy, are they getting scammed? Yes. Actually, you know, I hope the ideal outcome, we wouldn't even have to have like a revolution. All the bourgeoisie piles onto Elon Musk's rocket, and it's like an arc, you know, to go fly away to Mars to be safe, and then fucking blows up before it leaves the atmosphere. That's my wildest dream for how all this stuff is gonna go. Yeah, you know, yes, they are. A lot of them are delusional. Yeah. Most of the ruling class are coked up, have no connection to reality. Yes, that's true. That's true. They're not nearly as big of a threat as many people think they are. They're like the fail sons of the empire, right? And people just have this image of them. They're just coasting on, what do you call it? Like the system that they were born into. They don't have to do anything. It's all running automatically for them. It's comfy as fuck. I have to go. I do these streams most weekdays. I need to start. It's not every weekday. I often will skip one or two. I try to do at least 4 out of 5 though. I try to avoid doing a full 5. I like to set an example for people to have like more of a 4-day week. And also to maybe throw people off a little bit on the days when I'm not. So, oh, you've got time open, go find something to do. I don't want people to have like, what do you call it? Like that parasocial relationship to streaming. Like, go do stuff in real life. I think I've also been talking about doing satellites for the rich. Oh, like they're gonna settle and live on satellites. They're gonna build like a Halo ring or something, I guess. Talking about the space colony thing since I was a kid. Space colonies are like a plausible thing at some point in like the far future, but like escaping from climate change, we're not there yet unless they've just got like crazy technology, which I guess is possible. I guess it's possible that there's some secret crazy technology we don't know about. All right, you have a good weekend too, Juice. I've been talking about space colonies since I was a kid. I remember reading a fantasy book when I was real young about how we'd have space stations in orbit by 2000. Well, we do have space stations. They're just not, you know, they're not like full-on settlements and shit, right? It's just like a scientific project that doesn't get all that much funding. Space colonies are a feasible thing, but they're not the escape people think they are. Yeah, we don't have the time to build that stuff. Unless there's like super secret, mega advanced technology. It's just not viable. We have to make a space habitat right now if you really wanted to. Yeah, but like the amount of work that it would take a long time to develop. It isn't too great a technological hurdle, but is there the will to invest in it and actually like do all of the work that it would take? And it is a pretty big technological hurdle to make an environment like that that's big enough to house something like the billionaires of the Earth, which is a lot of people, for something like that. It's a huge engineering project. I don't know if the ruling class of the Earth has the ability to coordinate well enough to pull off a collaborative engineering project at that scale. I don't see it. Maybe even with some super advanced technology. The super crazy tech to stop burning fossil fuels. Well, so that would stop a lot of the problems with global warming getting worse, but there needs to be like a reversal process to sequestering the carbon back, because even if you stopped burning fossil fuels now, global warming is still happening. It's just not getting any worse. I've shown that spaceflight is more viable than the ruling class want to be accessible to people. Oh, well, obviously they'd rather it not be accessible to the common or the common folk. Space guns and the guy who tried to build one for Iraq that would have set cargo to space for like a tenth the cost of rocketry. It was openly assassinated by the CIA for it. That's interesting. I have not heard of that one. Sounds exactly like the kind of person the CIA would like to assassinate, though. There'll probably be a lot of grifting for doomsday hopes. For the super rich, though, yes, I think there will be. Hey, maybe that's even a good idea for like a business plan to raise money for an organization. That's something that people have tossed around as an idea before, is grifting rich idiots out of their money to fund the left wing. So it's mostly do they want to do it, and how are they going to justify trillions of dollars for purely ruling class space? Well, they don't have to justify it. That's not the problem. Justifying it is not the problem. They could just do it. Who's going to stop them? I think that the problem is they don't have the ability to organize it. And they don't have the good enough technology to overcome that problem. Space guns are already a viable thing, and using rocket-assisted projectiles makes them 100% feasible. Project Babylon. Of course, the ruling class doesn't want to go to Mars. They want to rule Earth. Yeah, I mean, they prefer that. I think that the Mars thing is like a plan for a few yahoos, and like a last-ditch kind of thing. Isn't that the Canadian mad scientist with the supergun idea? What's this? Project Babylon.
Every textbook read said bring you the bread, but guess what, we got you instead. We got the guillotine.
Project Babylon was a space gun project commissioned by then Iraqi President Saddam Hussein. Ah, interesting. So this is the weapon of mass destruction that they invaded Iraq over. It involved building a series of super guns. The design was based on research from the 1960s Project HARP, led by the Canadian artillery expert Gerald Bull. There were most likely 4 different devices in the program. And this picture is 2 sections of Big Babylon that have been bolted together at Royal Armouries Fort Nelson, Portsmouth. The project began in 1988. It was halted in 1990 after Bull was assassinated, and parts of the superguns were seized in transit around Europe. Components that remained in Iraq were destroyed by the United Nations after the 1991 Persian Gulf War. Damn, that's fucking wild, man. That thing looks so cool and wacky. You should have seen the nuclear reactor we were looking at yesterday. That was really crazy. That was some like real Star Trek shit. Makes a lot of sense though. Why put the propellant on the rocket where it weighs a ton when you put it on the ground and launch a smaller projectile into orbit? Yeah. Depends. You run into limits in material science with guns you don't want with rockets. Yeah. It was a fusion reactor. What was the name of that thing? Fuck. I should have remembered the name after covering it in that much depth. But yeah, it was a fusion reactor that used molten lead and lithium to produce like a vortex, a tornado that was used as a chamber for a fusion reaction. It had like steam pistons to control the pressure of the molten lead and lithium. And it would produce as a byproduct more fuel for fusion reactions. So you cannot shoot a person fast enough without being super long barrel to get there. Yeah, you don't want to accelerate like a person or anything that'd be damaged from like the, you know, the G forces. Rockets have the advantage of being very steady state and scaled forever. Yeah. You could send like supplies and stuff like that with a space gun, but people still need to be on rockets. Until we can figure out how to, like, you know, teleport people or open up like a wormhole to where we're going, you got to use like rockets, because you can't just shoot people out of cannons. Although I think there was like was it From the Earth to the Moon? There was that science fiction story about using a cannon to shoot a vessel into space. It's a very old idea. Hold on. Yeah. From the Earth to the Moon, a direct route, 97 hours, 20 minutes. French, de la Terre à la Lune, trajet direct in 97 hours, 20 minutes. From, yeah, okay, so it's Jules Verne, yeah. From 18, well, that was translated 18, when was it written? 1865. So, there you go. Science fiction predicting science. Space gun firing a much smaller rocket that completes the orbit will reduce the cost to get cargo up to space massively. Yeah.
Also, we should look at hybrid rockets more.
Hybrid propellant rocket with a rocket motor that uses rocket propellants in two different phases, solid and either gas or liquid. Right, so like it basically, depending on what stage of the flight you're using, you want to be using a different kind of thrust or different like way of thrusting.
So what's this Project Babylon thing up to?
Baby Babylon. The first of these superguns, Baby Babylon, is a horizontally mounted device which was simply a prototype for test purposes. Okay. Big Babylon. Second supergun, Big Babylon, of which a pair were planned, one to be mounted horizontally at least for test purposes, was much larger. Barrel was 156 meters, 512 feet long. So for the U.S. audiences, that is 1 point. Wait. Let me do the conversion here. That is 1.7 football fields. That's in burger units. That's 1.7 football fields. Is the length of that barrel. With a bore of 1 meter. So the bore, the diameter of the barrel is a meter. Originally intended to be suspended by cables from a steel framework, it would have been over 100 meters or 300 feet, 1 football field high at the tip. The complete device weighed about 2.1 tons, metric tons. The barrel alone weighed 1.655 tons. It was a space gun intended to shoot projectiles into orbit, a theme of Bull's work since Project HARP. Neither of these devices could be elevated or trained, making them useless for direct military purposes. Oh, but they're just such a threat, we gotta assassinate the guy. Fucking glowies, dude. Unless some form of terminal guidance could be used to direct the fire projectile at the intended target. No. Future plans, very large cannons which would be capable of being elevated and trained, were also planned. First had a bore of 350 millimeters, 13.8 inches, and a barrel length of about 30 meters, 100 feet. It was expected to have a range of up to 1,000 kilometers, about 625 miles, making Israel and central Iran well within reach of Iraqi artillery fire. Well, we gotta kill the guy. We gotta kill the guy for freedom. Wow. How many washing machine widths? We only measure in units of washing machines in Sam's Club roasted chickens. Yeah. So that's fucked, man. They were building this. It could be huge for space travel, but then they just fuck it up. They gotta kill the fucking guy. That's tragic. Imagine a world without the United States. You'd only be able to shoot it like one line into Iran, or right? Well, they're saying like he wouldn't really be able to aim it, so. All right, so what's up with what do they call it? The triangle: Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Leaving out Belize, I guess, for some reason. Vice President Kamala Harris has announced a new initiative to bring businesses and economic investment to Central America's Northern Triangle countries that are driving much of the migrant surge at the U.S. southern border that she's been tasked with addressing. At the White House on Thursday, Harris, who's set to travel next month to Mexico and Guatemala, met in person and virtually with representatives from a dozen companies and non-governmental organizations. Participants included the CEOs of Nespresso? Why? And Nespresso? Chobani and Duolingo? Wait, what? What the fuck? As well as the chairman of MasterCard and president of Microsoft. So, like, coffee, yogurt, and language learning software, and credit cards. That's quite a varied mix of companies you got there. Harris said the Biden administration is issuing a call to action to companies, banks, and social enterprises to invest in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The initiative is part of an effort to address the root causes of migration. Oh, I see. Oh, it was Mossad that killed Bull? Fuck. God damn it, fucking feds, man. These companies are being talked to by the Vice President Kamala Harris about investing in the Northern Triangle of Central America, Honduras, El Salvador, and what was the other one? Guatemala. The initiative is part of an effort to address the root causes of migration, and focusing on businesses reflects a desire to make the economic development last beyond any one administration or congressional funding cycle. Which, like, you translate that is they're trying to pull more money out of these countries because they invest, which means that they own part of the company and they take the profit, which is going to make the countries even poorer, and it's going to exacerbate the problem. All right, yeah, there you go. Also, yeah, I can queue up a song without the actual link. I can type in like the names and it'll give me the first thing that comes up in a search. But the link works too if you have a specific one you want me to use. Also, SoundCloud works. And you could go around me and just type it in chat yourself with the command. But you can just tell me in the SciTube and I'll do it myself. Support the Sandinistas against Duolingo imperialism. Dude, the memes about the Duolingo owl being like... No, I'm not trying to like harass you about it or anything. I'm just letting... Every time that comes up, I try to remind people how it works. The auto DJ is a really cool feature. Yeah, so like all these fucking memes about that Duolingo owl being like, let me see. Like being threatening and shit. Yeah. This is most of the ones that came up on the search weren't that good, but like Duolingo being like threatening and shit. It's like, well, I guess actually the company is gonna fucking go be a bunch of imperialists. Yeah. I have Duolingo and I've been trying to use it to learn stuff, and it's useful in some ways, but I've recently found when trying to learn Arabic, it's actually not very good at all, because there's a whole bunch of structure to it that yeah, here we go. We haven't seen you in a while. Your family hasn't eaten in a while either. I speak English and Spanish. I'm trying to learn Arabic and Chinese. And Russian a little bit too. It's good to be able to speak more languages, to be able to talk to a larger number of people. I would definitely recommend everybody try to learn more languages. Probably best to do like one at a time though. When we work together, when we combine resources, limited though they are for each one of us, I think this is Kamala, right? Yeah. I need to develop a good impression of her. We can maximize the potential to give people in that region hope, and in that way also show what it means to be a good neighbor. She's got like a really fucking freaky voice. Harris said in a brief opening remarks to the event. In its early months in office, the Biden administration had been criticized for its handling of the jump in the number of migrants seeking asylum crossing illegally in the United States, and also how they've been dealing with it. Apprehensions along the southern border are setting records, and Republicans have blamed the surge on the administration's decision to distance itself from the tough border enforcement policies of the Trump administration. Yeah, they're just trying to like be quiet about it and hope people forget all of that stuff's happening. Yes, learning languages is great for your brain. It's great for your ability to think about things, because people don't if you're like monolingual, you don't realize how much your thought process is determined by the grammar that you are thinking in. And even just learning a little bit of another language can help sort of break that up and enhance your ability to deal with like logic and stuff. You learn other languages to read if you learn other languages to read porn in other languages, is it a net good or bad? I think one of the really good ways to help learn a language is to like watch like TV shows or something in a foreign language, like with subtitles, or like either have it in your listen in your native language and read subtitles, or the other way around, listen in the foreign language and read subtitles, or both in the foreign language if you're trying to like get a better grip on it and you already know some. If you learn another language to read porn, just not. Oh wait, I already read that. Yeah. It's from Tropico 3. Kadak-san. I can play Tropico sometime on one of the streams. I have Tropico 4. Yeah. In March, President Biden asked Harris to lead the administration's efforts to address the root causes of the migration. Her portfolio doesn't include the border itself, but instead features relations with the Northern Triangle countries. This is a role Biden had during the Obama administration. Last month, Harris announced the U.S. would be investing an additional $310 million to help meet the humanitarian needs of the people in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. The region has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic fallout, as well as natural disasters, and a big chunk of the funds is set to go to emergency food assistance. I do not have Tropico 5. Yeah, that's... Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to repeat that on stream, but Plesson's right. But yeah, I don't think it's also. I'm not sure. If the money actually goes to the company that makes the game, I'd be happy to support them because they make a nice, comfy game. Let's see. I do have a Steam account. It should have the friend features working now since I did buy a game on it. I bought First Strike on it. I think you need to spend. The fuck is that? I swear that something else is playing now. Or it's just a really busy track. Oh, really? That's funny. The developers support piracy. Yeah, I have 4 is the version that I have. I don't know who the publisher is though. Oh, I need to look at store. Yeah, Tropico has really nice music also. Yeah, so like my Steam is also boss agnostic. It's the same as it's like $7, yeah. Yeah, it's probably not even like on sale currently. Oh no, it is on sale. Normally it would be, oh, I can't read, it's so small. $20? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's on sale right now. I don't know which version is supposed to be the best though. Squad has said before that if people pirate KSP, it just makes more people who want to buy it. I mean, that's pretty much true in general, that piracy helps encourage word of mouth advertising. Tooth and Tail rings a bell. Used to be able to speak via show. I don't know what that is. So let's almost finish with this. 12 organizations that were part of Thursday's event in Harris's ceremonial office announced commitments to support inclusive development in the Northern Triangle. An administration official said, "The goal is long-term development of the region, including efforts for economic opportunity, strengthening governance, combating corruption, and improving security," the official said. So, like, it's just, they're just gonna, invest in some local businesses or whatever, or like have some companies offshore or something, and then they're gonna extract profit from the area. It's gonna make it poorer, and we're gonna have worse problems with people migrating because there's no fucking opportunities in their homeland. Harris said she's operating on the premise that people don't want to leave their home countries, and when they do, it's because they're fleeing some harm, such as violence or a natural disaster, because staying home prevents them from satisfying basic needs. For many migrants, a lack of economic opportunity in their home country is a factor in their decision to leave, and that's where this initiative comes in. So it sounds like they're replying to, like, people have been saying this for a while, that this is the reason that migration happens, but their solution is fucking bullshit. It's just going to impoverish them even further. Game about animals in revolt during a 1900s era French-Russian revolt theme. Oh, interesting. Best shell is English run through a phonetic cipher. Okay. Made for TNT. Your mom is English run through a phonetic cipher. Yeah. We have the capacity to give people hope, and hope in particular in this case that if they stay, help us on the way, Harris said. Among commitments, Harris announced that Microshaft will expand broadband access for up to 3 million people in the next year. Okay, well, actually, that is actually like a good kind of aid, just like build the infrastructure. But what are they going to charge for it? Broadband access for up to 3 million people in the next year. Nespresso will expand coffee sourcing in Guatemala, so they're going to exploit the resources and sell it in, like, it's the sourcing. They're not going to sell the coffee in Guatemala. They're going to source more of it from Guatemala, which means it's fucking gonna, it just means more exploitation and fucking pull the resources out of the country. They'll start doing so in El Salvador and Honduras, and MasterCard plans to support 1 million small businesses in the region. Okay, yeah, so you're going to set up some petty bourgeois who are, like, loyal or connected to Western capitalism. Right, you sound like your little capitalist fiefdom in El Salvador. or no, it's or the region El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala. Fuck. They aren't even promising it to be fair trade. Of course not. Of course not. That would be too much. The benefit of this effort will probably not evidence itself overnight. It never will, because it's going to hurt. It's not going to help. But will be well worth it, Harris said. We do understand our work is in the context of long-standing and deep-rooted factors. Yeah. But we don't understand that the method is going to make it worse. Or they do understand, but they think people are stupid enough to not understand that. And they're probably right for most people. You're not fooling me. Press was escorted... Wait, what? The press was escorted out after Harris's opening remarks? Holy fuck. What the fuck? Why? That's like such a weird thing to put in here. Like, to do and then have be like the closing for the article? What the fuck? We're gonna negotiate our trade deals and then you all need to fuck off. Like, what the like, wow. That's fucking weird. Alright, so let's go to, so yeah, yeah, whatever. My fucking god. Alright, hold on. Let me archive the page, or get to the archive of the page, so I don't have to deal with this fucking shit. Alright, that does have to archive. It hasn't archived yet. Alright, while that's running in the background, stay in that same region. We're moving from the triangle, the triangle here, to Nicaragua. Nicaragua to grant 30,000 property titles this year. Like openly admitting that they're going to do shady shit that helps nobody in lines their own pockets. Yeah. Press is already their friends and they won't trust them with it. Yeah. Amazing. 2020, the delivery of 28,000 property titles is one of the actions implemented to alleviate the economic consequences of 2 hurricanes. This is Puerto Rico, or no, this is Nicaragua. Puerto Rico is the other story. Ah, it doesn't resize with the page. Nope. Can't zoom in because the text doesn't get shuffled around. Nicaragua's Vice President Rosario Murillo informed the delivery of 2,000 property titles to rural workers and families in the coming weeks. She ratified the delivery of 612 rural house titles, 953 urban titles, and 335 land titles to producers in communities such as Jinotega, Matagalpa, Nueva Segovia, León, Madrid, and Carazo. On Thursday, 236 land titles were granted in Tipitapa, Mura, Blanco, San Lorenzo, and Managua's 5 and 7 districts. Murillo also announced the conclusion of 8 social projects such as a bridge in the La Flor de Malpaisillo community, a maternity center, and an energy power plant in Willy. So this sounds like right next to where all that fucking exploitation happens. Sounds like there's some development happening. Julie Chung. The Nicaragua National Assembly's new electoral law disappoints its people and doesn't reassure the international community. Its electoral council is heavily biased. It's on a path to deeply flawed elections unless it implements a free and fair process that respects people's will. Wait, this sounds like it's about a different story. The U.S. government's fake humanitarian arm, USAID, CIA cutout, right, was exposed for plotting another coup attempt against Nicaragua's democratically elected Sandinista government. The U.S. State Department is already meddling 6 months before the vote even takes place. Okay, so like... So this is like bullshitting about what's going on there? Who's Julie Chung? She's some kind of agent? Acting Assistant Secretary for U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. Okay. So that tweet is manufacturing consent, basically. And then Ben Norton linked, document exposes new U.S. plot to overthrow Nicaragua's elected socialist something. Okay, I don't need to read that. USAID document outlines the U.S. I love that, like, the USAID is such bullshit that even their internal documents are going to reveal that they're doing a coup. They're not just there to, like, innocently funnel in, like, aid that the CIA sneaks weapons into. They're, like, they're not even keeping their own paper trail clean. I received what I've been waiting for 40 years after having finished paying for my land, Socorro Parala said after when receiving her property title. Authorities expect to gain 30,000 property titles this year. To grant 30,000 property titles this year. In 2020 alone, 28,000 of these documents were fully delivered. Last year, Nicaragua suffered the impacts of Hurricanes Eta and Iota, which affected 60% of its territory. Economic damages reached 6.2% of the gross domestic product. Tell us where climate change, at least 500,000 people in Central America alone are fleeing the effects of climate change. That doesn't seem to be that relevant to this article. Except, like, context on hurricanes. So, the thing here is, while the U.S. is trying to do some more imperialism in these three countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. In Nicaragua, they've got a sort of left-leaning government that's actually trying to do stuff for the people. And then there's, I guess there's leaked USAID documents saying that they're gonna fucking, this is the wrong, hold on. Oh, this is the Florida one, okay. I'll get to that in a bit. Where's the Puerto Rico one, though? Huh. Anyway. So, there's, you know, some positive things, some negative things. Hold on, let me put on the internet condom before I scroll down image board. Okay, nothing really to report. All right, let's do Bolivia. This was a big story. All of the stuff going on there. Negotiation over protests in Colombia. Bolivia's fucking shit is largely over. Negotiation over protests in Colombia remains stalled. Bogota, May 28th. The National Strike Committee today blamed the government of Ivan Duque for the stagnation in negotiations of the emergency document due to its delay in signing the preliminary agreement on Colombia's social protests in Colombia. We regret that the national government does not have an answer to the preliminary agreement we reached regarding guarantees for carrying out social protests, said Francisco Maltés, president of Colombia's Union Federation. Therefore, this delaying attitude shows who the responsible for the strike is the government of President Duque, which does not understand the complexity of the situation in the country, he emphasized. We have agreed, he said, a meeting for next Sunday, and we hope to reach an agreement on the guarantees to exercise social protest, the methodology for the development of the negotiation on the emergency document, and the setting up of a negotiating table. Last Monday, the committee unanimously approved the preliminary agreement reached with the executive regarding guarantees for the exercise of social protest, and the government postponed its signing. The largest social outbreak in the recent history of Colombia marks 1 month today since the start of a national strike against tax reform that would affect the majority. Since April 28th, the protests continue in the streets, and also the police violence against the protesters, with a total of 60 dead. And they're just not able to keep a lid on it, I guess. I don't know. They're trying, but it doesn't seem like it's working. Let me check. I should definitely have more than one Twitch viewer. I don't know what's up with the view counter. Let's see. Let's see what it says on the Twitch website. Nope, it says I only have one. What the fuck? Hold on, let me pause that so I don't keep running. What's this? Users in chat. Well, I mean, it's showing me that they got users in chat. I don't know what the fuck. So, I got multiple users in chat, but it's only counting 2 viewers? How does that work? It is a mystery. Anyway. Alright. I thought there was a Puerto Rico story, wasn't there? Alright, there we go. I knew that was coming. Alright, that's also archive. So let's see. It's Puerto Rico, and there was another Latin American country that... It's the Florida one. I thought there was another Latin American one. Maybe I was just thinking of the Puerto Rico one. Right, Puerto Rico's wrecked utility goes private in bid to save island. Homes without electricity after Hurricane Maria in the town of Hacanas, Yabucoa in May 2018. Puerto Rico will take a major step toward transforming its government-owned power provider next week as Luma Energy is set to begin operating and managing the utility, part of the Commonwealth's plan to rehabilitate its aging system and chronic outages. Luma is poised on June 1st to take over transmission and distribution for Puerto Rico's Electric Power Authority, which is the main supplier of electricity for the island's 3.3 million residents and is one of the 2 largest U.S. public power utilities by consumer base. PREPA, as the agency is known, will retain ownership of its infrastructure and assets. So, yeah, it's being turned over to like a U.S.-based company, which is going to further increase the control the U.S. has over Puerto Rico as a colony. Improving electricity is key to pulling the U.S. territory out of years of economic decline. Residents and businesses have suffered with unreliable service and rates that are higher than on the U.S. mainland. But the utility's main labor union and some politicians are trying to delay or derail a takeover. Oh, okay, it's the union's fault and it's the politicians' fault who are trying to stop the fucking privatization. Eat my ass, Bloomberg. The question of if Luma Energy will have enough workers to operate such a large system, and say the contract leaves thousands of existing public employees adrift. The PREPA transition is very unique in the world, said Wayne Stensby, President and Chief Executive Officer of Luma Energy. If the simple question is, have you done one just like this before? I think the answer has got to be no. The handover comes as both the Commonwealth and the power utility are in bankruptcy, with PREPA seeking to reduce at $9 billion of debt after years of population decline and borrowing to cover budget deficits. Hurricane Maria in 2017 destroyed much of the power grid, leaving customers in the dark for months. Federal Emergency Management Agency in 2020 earmarks nearly $10 billion for repairs. Yeah. Puerto Rico's just been getting shafted. What was the name of that? There's like a type of scheme specifically that they've been doing with these like loans as a method of trying to like recover economically. The problem is like when you are forced into paying, accepting these loans as a way to try to deal with your economic problems. Once you've recovered using that money, now you owe interest on those loans, and you end up being driven even further into the ground. Natalie Jaresko, I don't know who that is. We cannot afford, I guess that's going to be, yeah. Okay. We cannot grow long-term residents, and businesses cannot afford or cannot get reliable electricity. Natalie Jaresko, executive director of Puerto Rico's Financial Oversight Board, said during an April 23rd public meeting. Congress created the Oversight Panel in 2016 to fix the Commonwealth's financial crisis. Yeah, okay. So it's just like trying to manage the exploitation of a colonized island. Agency management. PREPA's bankruptcy began in 2017 as its unwillingness to raise rates led to infrastructure decay and forced to borrow just to cover operating expenses. Critics say the agency's management also became deeply politicized as key jobs were given to party loyalists than to the most qualified. Privatizing operations can result in better management than fuck you. Private sector entity can come in and shake things up. Yeah, that's what you really want with a utility. Shake things up and run things more as a business with perhaps less political consideration that can lead to inefficiencies and higher costs. Sometimes fuck you, Patterson. Yeah, okay. Sufficient linemen. PREPA employees account for about half of the 2,000 workers that Luma has already hired, Stensby said. Even so, some wonder if Luma will have sufficient linemen, the skilled workers who repair and upgrade electrical lines and remove trees and vegetation from the distribution system, just as Puerto Rico enters hurricane season. Both PREPA and Los Angeles Department of Water and Power have about 1.5 million customers. Hopefully they go on strike or something to fucking make it too difficult for them to do what they're trying to do. Because fuck this bullshit. Luma's hired 250 linemen and 250 electrical technicians under contract and plans to hire more, according to Laura Rentos, a spokesperson for Luma. Tense transition. In a sign of how tense the transition might be, Luma said it's working with Puerto Rico and federal law enforcement in the event someone tries to upend the transition through sabotage or other means, Stensby said. In the days leading up to June 1st, UTIER members have blocked PREPA offices and held marches. On Monday, the utility said it urged workers to report on duty as 30,000 residents were without power. UTIER denied any staged walkout. Yeah. No, keep them in the dark if you're gonna do walkouts and shit. Why not? Some local lawmakers also questioned Luma's claim that it will save the utility $110 million by 2024, as the company hasn't detailed how it will achieve those reductions. Luma will find efficiencies through the way it dispatches in response to outages, Stensby said. The company's initial budgets avoid rate increases, he said. PREPA will pay the company $115 million per year while the utility is in bankruptcy. Once PREPA is out of court. Once PREPA is out of court, it will pay Luma $70 million to $100 million annually for the first 3 years, increasing to $105 million after the remaining years. So, and what are they going to get? What are they going to get for that money? Let's not be fooled. There's no empirical analysis that justifies his assumptions. Luis Raul Torres, a Puerto Rico assemblyman and chair of the House Economic Development Commission, it's the billions that Luma will receive from FEMA that will allow it to renew its equipment. That's where we'll see the true benefits of efficiencies, because we'll have new equipment that's inherently more efficient, but we can have that without dismantling the public utility. Yeah, fucking exactly. And it's like, Puerto Rico is supposed to be part of the fucking US, so they should care about taking care of that stuff, but they don't. They're not going to. They're just looking at it as an opportunity to exploit. So what do we got left? The Florida story. 9:15. Florida story. Officers plead not guilty. Alright, I think let's do this one. Looks short. I'll skim it. 3 officers plead not guilty in black man's restraint death. Well, hey, they're being charged, so it's a new. Let's see, do we have pictures of these people? 1 of 14. Tacoma police officer Christopher Burbank appears via video for arraignment on a second-degree murder charge in Pierce County Superior Court in Tacoma, Washington, Friday, May 28, 2021. 3 Washington State police officers pleaded not guilty Friday in the death of Manuel Ellis, another black man who pleaded for breath under an officer's knee. This is Tacoma police officer Matthew Collins. The rest of it is the same. This is police officer Timothy Rankine. Marcia Carter Patterson Wright, the mother of Manuel Manny Ellis, stands with her son and Ellis's brother Matthew left. As she speaks Thursday, May 27, 2021, at a news conference in Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. Ellis died on March 3, 2020, after he was restrained by police officers. Earlier in the day, Thursday, Washington State Attorney General filed criminal charges against 3 police officers in the deaths of Ellis. Marcia Carter Patterson left. The mother of Manuel Manny Ellis leaves after speaking Thursday, May 27, 2021, at a news conference in Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. Ellis died on March 3, 2020, after he was restrained by police officers. Earlier in the day, Thursday, Washington State Attorney General filed criminal charges against 3 police officers in the death of Ellis. So, he died March 3rd, 2020. So he died literally, this happened literally before George Floyd died on May 25th, 2020. And it's taken over a year for this to come out. I think the video came out just recently. Pierce County Superior Court Judge Michael Schwartz listens to attorney statements during the arraignment appearances for 3 Tacoma police officers charged in the death of Manuel Ellis Friday, May 28th. In Tacoma, Washington, 3 Washington State police officers. Yeah, okay, it's the same thing. Marcia Carter Patterson, second from the left, the mother of Manuel Manny Ellis, stands with family members as she speaks Thursday, May 27th, at a news conference in Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. Monet Carter Mixon, the sister of Manuel Manny Ellis, speaks Thursday, May 27th, at a news conference in Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. Monica Colby walks her dog Piper past the marquee of the historic Pantages Theater that honors Manny Ellis in downtown Tacoma, Washington. Earlier in the day, State's Attorney General announced criminal charges against 3 Tacoma police officers involved in Ellis's death. A woman walks past a mural honoring Manuel Manny Ellis, May 27, 2021, in the Hilltop neighborhood of Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. Family Manuel Ellis gathers with attorney James Bible, second from left, following the assignment of 3 Tacoma police officers charged in the death of Manuel Ellis. Monet Carter Mixon left, the sister of Manuel Ellis, sits with family members and attorney James Bible as they watch the Pierce County Superior Court arraignment appearances of 3 Tacoma police officers Friday, May 28th in Tacoma. Cars stop at a traffic light. Wow, okay, that's newsworthy. Cars stop at a traffic light Thursday, May 27th, near a memorial that has been established at the intersection of Tacoma, Washington, where Manuel Ellis died on March 3rd, after he was restrained by police officers. Earlier in the day, Washington State Attorney filed criminal. I mean, but this isn't even a picture of like the memorial, it's just the intersection. Sister of a black man death. Wait, what? The sister of a black man death who died while restrained by Tacoma police officer said she has no sympathy for the officers who have been charged in her brother's death, and that she's disappointed they will not be kept in custody. I was just going through a slideshow of this this article for 3 officers pleading not guilty in the death of Manuel Alice. Yeah, it was a really weird phrasing. Sometimes people just like fail to properly edit the sentence. Like somebody probably rewrote that and didn't go back and delete some words they needed to. Alright, so, but the reports from Seattle. 5 weeks after ex-Minneapolis policeman Derek Chauvin was convicted of murdering George Floyd, 3 Washington State police officers pleaded not guilty Friday in the death of Manuel Ellis. Another black man who pleaded for breath under an officer's knee. He died before George Floyd, though. Oh shit, Death himself. Yeah. The sister of a black man, Death. Yeah. Oh shit, Death himself is dead. Death is a black man, I believe that. Tacoma police officers Christopher Burbank, Matthew Collins, and Timothy Rankin appeared in orange jumpsuits by video conference from the Pierce County Jail as Superior Court Judge Michael Schwartz set bail at $100,000 for each of them. By mid-afternoon, all 3 were listed as the online jail register as having been released on bond. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson had charged Burbank and Collins, who were white, with second-degree murder Thursday after witnesses reported that they had attacked Ellis without provocation. Timothy Rankin, who is Asian, faces a charge of first-degree manslaughter. He's accused of kneeling on Ellis's back and shoulder as he repeatedly told him he couldn't breathe, according to a probable cause statement filed in Pierce County Superior Court. Special Assistant Attorney General Patty Eakes, representing the state, asked for bail to be set at $1 million, citing the severity of the charges, but defense attorneys argued that their clients had no criminal history, turned themselves in, and posed no risk of flight or danger to the community. There's nothing to suggest he's ever going to commit a crime. He didn't commit this crime, Burbank's attorney, Wayne Frickle, told the judge. Wayne Frickle. These guys were going to run, and he specifically. That would have occurred in the last 14 months. Ellis, 33, died on March 3rd, 2020, tasered, handcuffed, and hog-tied. Hog-tied meaning they tied his hands and feet together, with his face covered by a spit hood. So like a hood to keep him from spitting on people? Just weeks before George Floyd's death triggered a nationwide reckoning on race and policing. Yeah, so this was March 3rd, I think they said, whereas George Floyd was killed on May 25th. So like about a month and 3 weeks or something like that. It's just sadistic torture and murder. Well, I got news for you. This is what happens all the time. This happens all the time, all over the United States. You just don't see it as much as you do recently. Or you haven't seen it as much as you do recently. This is normal in the US. I think that this guy also had like some kind of mental disability. I'm reading through the story of Manuel Ellis's, or the trial for the police officers who killed Manuel Ellis. So I'll reread that paragraph because it's important. Ellis, 33, died on March 3rd, 2020, tasered, handcuffed, and hog-tied. Hog-tied, like, you know, you got your hands tied behind your back, and then your hands are tied to your feet. With his face covered by a spit hood, which I assume is, like, to keep you from spitting on people or something. Just weeks before George Floyd's death triggered a nationwide reckoning on race and policing. So March 3rd versus May 25th. The Pierce County medical examiner called Ellis's death a homicide because lack of oxygen caused by restraint with an enlarged heart and methamphetamine intoxication as contributing factors. The death mate, I mean, like, you can still die from that shit even if you don't have an enlarged heart and methamphetamine intoxication. It's just going to make it happen faster. And if you weren't put in that position, you wouldn't die, regardless of intoxication and your heart. Genuinely don't understand the right wing's attempts to normalize police violence. A lot of them identify with the police if they're not themselves police. Meth wouldn't cause you to suffocate to death. Yeah, it's the same kind of shit they tried with George Floyd. You know, they tried to make it the drugs that did it. And, you know, they hope people don't understand drugs enough to fucking understand that it's bullshit. He was having serious trouble when we started strangling him, so it's not our fault. Well, the other, even if the drugs were legitimate, this is like my point, because explaining how drugs work to people is harder. Even if the drugs did the things they're saying they did, which they don't, even if they did those things, like, it's still the fact that they put him in that position that caused him to die. It's not the fact that he had those drugs in his system or whatever. Like, it's a stupid argument. The logic is fucked up. Even if the drug could potentially contribute to killing you faster than if you were sober. Like, it's just not how it's not how dying works. If you're put in a position that's like gonna put your life at risk, that's the thing that's killing you. Yeah, because it opens up your respiratory tract. I don't know all that much about the effects of meth in like that kind of granular term, but it sounds like it's plausible. Either way, it's not the meth. Even assuming that he had meth in his system, I don't know that that's true. They were making allegations about George Floyd having fucking I forget what it was, some opioid, fentanyl in his system, and that wasn't true. He didn't have like trace amounts that wouldn't do anything, even to somebody who had like a no tolerance. Maybe they just targeted him because he seemed high. They thought they could blame drugs. Everyone should use speed. Yeah, of course they strangle him. Yeah. They love to do that. Strangulation is like one of the favorite ways for the police to kill people because it's slow. And it leaves open the possibility for struggle. I mean, you want to see that in action, look at the death of George Floyd. Pull up the video of that. It's like a game to them. It gives them this like protracted time where they're struggling physically with somebody. They get to physically dominate somebody. And doing that gives them like a rush of, well, whatever it is, whatever feel-good chemicals that you get when you have like power. I don't think it's endorphins. I think it's dopamine. But whatever, you get the idea. It's like, you know, it's like sexual, pretty much. It's this thing of like, oh yeah, look at how strong I am. Look at how big my dick is. That's what the thing is for them. It's the feeling that they get from it. That's what they're after. It is serial killer shit. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same kind of shit. Yeah, I don't know what the chemicals are exactly, but there's some kind of like reward thing associated with it. And what's his face? Dave Grossman, who wrote the Killology shit, as he says, the day that you kill somebody is the night that you're gonna have the best sex of your life. And he just like openly tells the cops that, like encourages them to go kill people, and tells them that it's gonna result in them having great sex. So, yeah. It always baffles me how people can feel like that. Well, I think that like most people can relate to like winning being like this positive feeling. You get like the feeling of reward, and it's like that. I'm pretty sure it's like or being I don't know, if you overcome some physical challenge that you have like a feeling of like power. But then there's like a social component to it of like dominating somebody as well. I think that's sort of the best way to try to think about it, as somebody who's not brutalizing people for fun out of sadism. That's probably the easiest way to relate to that mentality. Oh yeah, so I already said this stuff about the methamphetamine. The death made Ellis's name synonymous with pleas for justice at protests in the Pacific Northwest. His final words, "I can't breathe, sir." Even being polite. Not just saying, "I can't breathe," he's saying, "I can't breathe, sir." Yeah, it is. I think it is. It's related to the feeling of kicking your mate's ass at Xbox. I think that's probably the closest thing most people would experience, or the closest kind of thing most people would experience to it. I have to believe that it's like far more intense than that, because it does seem to be like addictive. The fact that there's like a physical struggle involved probably means that there's like endorphins or whatever from like you get with a runner's high or something like that. That's probably a component of it too. But yeah, clearly they're doing this because they're getting off on it. They're enjoying it. His final words, "I can't breathe, sir," were captured by a home security camera, as was the retort from one of the officers, "Shut the fuck up, man." Ellis was not fighting back, the probable cause settlement says, citing video recorded by witnesses. Burbank and Collins reported that the encounter began after they saw Ellis try to get into occupied cars at a red light. Ellis, recently back from church, had walked to a convenience store to get a late-night snack, powdered raspberry-filled donuts. The officers cast Ellis as the aggressor, saying he punched the window of their cruiser and attacked them as they got out, according to statements from other officers cited in the charging documents. But two witnesses came forward with identical stories, saying the police attacked. An officer in the passenger side of a patrol car slammed his door into Ellis, knocking him down, and started beating him, he said. They said. The witnesses described seeing a casual interaction between the officers and Ellis before Burbank struck Ellis with his car door. So they like opened the car door and hit him with it. There was no sudden random attack by Ellis as the officers described that night to others, the probable cause statement said. In court Friday, Rankin's attorney, Ryan Hirschman, sought to distinguish the allegations against his client from those against Burbank and Collins. "My client was responding to a priority backup call. What happened prior to his arrival he had no knowledge of," Hirschman said. "He just knew there was a fracas when he got there." The sheriff's office botched the initial investigation by failing to disclose for 3 months that one of its deputies had been involved in restraining Ellis. State law requires independent investigations. Oh, okay. That makes it more fucked up that they're like... So, like... They're like covering it up, then. The Washington State Patrol took over and the Attorney General's office reviewed its evidence and conducted its own additional investigation. So, like, not only did they take over a year to release this footage and information, the sheriff didn't disclose that they had somebody there who was involved. Ellis had a history of mental illness and addiction. Yeah, they always gotta throw that in there. In September 2019, he was found naked after trying to rob a fast food restaurant. Sheriff's deputy subdued him with a taser after he refused to remain down on the ground and charged toward law enforcement. They always gotta throw in something like that, unrelated to this incident completely. His landlords at the sober housing where he was staying told the Seattle Times he had been doing well in recent months after embracing mental health care for his schizophrenia. Okay, so I thought there was something like that. He had schizophrenia. Used to get a lot of scraps and actually felt pretty good, honestly. If you win, yeah. but not just about the struggle for them. They need 100% control. Yeah, it's the like dominating people gives you like the feeling of power and stuff. Yeah, and like when you're stressed 24/7, you tend to break down and do dumb shit sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, he had fucking schizophrenia. Come on. At a news conference Thursday, Ellis's family welcomed the charges but called for more work to overhaul the criminal justice system. Family seeking $30 million in a lawsuit against the city. Charged officers could pay up to life in prison if convicted. But the standard sentencing range is 10 to 18 years for second-degree murder with no prior criminal history and 6.5 to 8.5 years for manslaughter. Collins, 38, and Burbank, 35, had each been an officer for 4 years by March 2020 after serving 8 years in the Army. Rankin, 32, joined the department in 2018 after 6 years in the Army and 2 as a security contractor for the U.S. State Department. Yeah, so probably learned some tricks fucking killing people in the military and God, why is that so unsurprising? Okay. 8 years in the like who, and also 8 years in the Army is like that's somebody who wants to be in the Army. And 6 years in the Army and 2 as a security contractor for the U.S. State Department. So, you know, always wins 70% of the time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. What's up in Florida? Only like 3 stories left here. So, tech trade groups sue Florida over social media law. Florida is the first state to regulate how social media companies moderate online speech. Alright, so what's the law? Two tech trade groups filed a lawsuit against Florida on Thursday under a new law that would fine social media companies that ban political candidates, which they said violated free speech rights. Okay, so Florida is saying you can't ban political candidates. Or they're going to fine you if you do. The lawsuit, which said the bill signed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Monday was unconstitutional, was filed by internet lobbying groups NetChoice and Computer and Communications Industry Association. The group's members include Facebook, Twitter, and Alphabet's Google. We cannot stand idly by as Florida's lawmakers push unconstitutional bills into law that bring us closer to state-run media and state-run internet, said NetChoice's Vice President Carl Sabo. The First Amendment protects social media platforms' right to host and moderate content as they see fit for their business models and users. Christina Pushaw, a spokeswoman for the Republican DeSantis, said the governor's office had no comment on any specific lawsuit, but that it had anticipated legal challenges and was confident the legislation had strong legal basis. Big tech is in some ways more powerful than government and certainly less accountable. Free speech is a sacred right for all Americans, she said. But like the law is protecting, you know, like Donald Trump from getting banned on Twitter. Like that's basically what it is. Former President Donald Trump, also a Republican, remains blocked on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube after the platforms banned or suspended him over risks of further violence following the January 6th storming of the U.S. Capitol by some of his supporters. The ban added to Republicans' long-standing accusations that online platforms censor content due to anti-conservative bias. Of all the things to be having a fucking legal dispute over regarding internet posting, it's that shit. And Trump like legitimately did incite violence. Like he did incite an insurrection. They didn't do an insurrection, but like that's what he was asking for on Twitter. Like that is true. He was asking people to go to the Capitol building and stop them from fucking doing the process. Oh, this is so stupid. It'd be more interesting if it wasn't just political stuff. Yeah, this is just like the fucking stupidest thing for them to be having this conversation about. Because this is like a real serious topic of like who has power over communications. But the law is apparently only about politicians, so it's like not even relevant to most people. While America is losing literally everywhere, this is all they can focus on. Yeah. Florida is the first state to regulate how social media companies moderate online speech. The new law would also make it easier for Florida's Attorney General and others in the state to sue the tech companies over claims that platforms have imposed content moderation on users unfairly or inconsistently. It's been criticized by internet law experts as unconstitutional and as preempted by Section 230, a federal law that shields online companies from liability over content posted by users. Okay, but that shielding people from liability for content posted by users is not the same thing as preventing them from banning or allowing them to ban people. In fact, I believe Section 230 says that if you start to like ban people over content like that, what happens is you're no longer being, or maybe it's not Section 230, but if you are banning people over the content they post, you're acting as like a curator as opposed to just a neutral platform, and you're regulated differently. If you just allow people to post whatever they want and don't regulate it or control it or moderate it, then you're considered like a platform. And, you know, you're not responsible for what people post. But if you are being selective about who you'll allow to post and what you'll allow them to post, now you're a moderator and you are liable for what people post. That's what the law is. I forget what where that's written. It may not be Section 230, but that's the way that it works right now. Pretty sure. The law exempts companies that own and operate a theme park or entertainment venue of more than 25 acres. Wait, what? What do companies have to do with it? I thought it was for politicians. The law exempts companies that own and operate a theme park or entertainment venue of more than 25 acres, such as Disney's theme park in the state. That just sounds like Disney just didn't want any of this to fuck with them, so they send over Mickey Mouse. It's like, oh, you better write in a stipulation in that law that it's not gonna do anything to bother my business, huh? I don't know what, because Disney's not a politician, and they're not a media. So wait, they're saying, so maybe like Disney, if Disney has a media company, they could then ban a politician, is what the exemption would mean. So like if Disney makes their version of Twitter, they can ban Donald Trump. That's what the exception would mean, I think. So wait, if Twitter just opens up a theme park of more than 25 acres, then they can ban whoever they want in Florida. This is fucking stupid. But why would Disney even give a fuck? Are they planning to have a social media website? That's just weird. Every American website is B by law. Yeah, it's one of the most transparently corrupt things I've ever seen in my fucking life. Disney's looking at moving towards it. Yeah, that would be fucking really weird if Disney had like their own Twitter. It'd be all like family friendly and shit. That would be really weird. Like, what would they offer that would be different? Faceland. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they'd probably have like some specific thing that it would do that'd be different. They'd have, what they would do is they'd have like a bunch of emotes to react with that are all like proprietary Disney characters. And they would like probably start cracking down on people on Twitter who post like reaction gifs of like, you know, Elsa and whoever the fuck else from like recent Disney movies. That was actually a thing I think that was attempted, was to like make it illegal to post memes that used copyrighted works. Yeah, Facebook theme parks. God. Alright, just a couple stories left. No more happy birthday TikToks, motherfucker. Happy birthday is actually public domain now. But yeah, TikTok is all about copyright infringement because there's so many. It's like, wasn't the whole thing originally like you make a video of you lip syncing to a song? All right, so here's good news for workers in the U.S. USDA rejects requests for faster pork slaughterhouse speeds. Des Moines, this is Smithfield Meat Packing, I guess, or slaughterhouse. Des Moines, Iowa. The U.S. or Des Moines, Iowa. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has declined a request by the pork industry to increase the speed at which pigs can be processed into meat, delivering a victory to slaughterhouse workers who had raised safety concerns about the plan. The USDA announced Wednesday evening it would enforce a Minnesota judge's order issued in March. The judge struck down plans begun years ago, but finalized by the USDA under former President Donald Trump's administration that would have lifted maximum line speeds at pork slaughterhouses, allowing dozens of plants to speed up production. United Food and Commercial Workers Union International, which represents 33,000 workers in the pork processing industry, welcomed the decision. Yeah, based TikTok and copyright. TikTok's Chinese, right? China doesn't give a fuck about infringing on U.S. record labels. Shit, they don't care. President Biden made a commitment to strengthen safety protections for America's meatpacking workers at the front lines of this pandemic. With today's USDA statement, the Biden administration is reaffirming its commitment to worker safety, Union President Mark Perrone said Wednesday. The USDA's decision followed March 31st ruling by U.S. District Judge Joan Erickson, who had considered a lawsuit filed by the union and found that the USDA acted arbitrarily and capriciously when it refused to consider the impact of faster line speeds on worker safety. Erickson ordered the rule to be vacated but delayed the effective date for 90 days to give the USDA and the industry time to prepare for any operational change. The National Pork Producers Council, a group representing pig farmers this week, asked the USDA to repeal the ruling, I guess that's like a break or a pause, seek a stay while the appeal is considered and requested. The agency pursue a fast-tracked rule that would allow higher line speeds. In a statement posted Wednesday on its website, the USDA said pork processing plants should prepare to revert to previous maximum speed limits as of June 30th. The agency is committed to workers' safety and ensuring a safe, reliable food supply. We will work with the establishments to comply with the court's ruling and minimize disruptions to the supply chain, the USDA said. Pork processing plants in Hatfield, Pennsylvania, Coldwater, Michigan, Fremont, Nebraska, and Austin, Minnesota have been working with the faster line speeds under a pilot project for years. And the plant in Guymon, Oklahoma began faster speeds in 2019. Several others were expected to adopt faster speeds, but plans were delayed by the pandemic. The pork producers group said the judge's ruling would force plants already operating at faster speeds to return to the previous maximum speed of 1,106 hogs per hour, significantly less than the 1,450 hogs per hour some plants were processing. There's just something fucking hilarious about the unit hogs per hour. Doesn't that just sound like the most burger thing ever? Yeah, we processing 1,106 hogs per hour, but Donald Trump came in and raised that limit, and then we started processing 1,450 hogs per hour. Like, God, hogs per hour, dude. I mean, I get that, like, anywhere that's processing pork meat is going to be using that. It's just hilarious sounding to me. In a statement, NPPC spokesman Jim Monroe said the organization is disappointed with the USDA decision. I bet you fucking are. Yeah, get wrecked. Support a flawed federal district court decision, adding that irreparable harm will be exacted on small U.S. hog farmers with this court order goes into effect at the end of June 2021. Fuck you. The group earlier said the judge's ruling will cut U.S. pork packing plant capacity by 2.5% and result in more than $80 million in reduced income for small hog farmers, according to an analysis conducted for the group of Iowa State University agricultural economist Dermot Hayes. The group said it will pursue all avenues to reverse the court decision. Well, I don't think it's going to work. The Washington-based North American Meat Institute, a trade group for the meat processing industry, said the judge's ruling could have significant unintended consequences, including that workers who will now have increased workloads as companies attempt to make up for lost production. How does that work? If there's like a limit on how much you can produce, how do you increase their workload to make that? Doesn't. How do you? There's just a limit, a bottleneck on how much you can produce, and it's for safety reasons. I think that the workers appreciate not having to work as hard, probably. I'm sure small farmers are the ones being hurt. Yeah, like, oh yeah, the tiny farms, the small businesses, they aren't going to be able to process like 1,500 pigs per hour. It's the small mom and pop shops that won't be able to process 1,500 pigs every hour. Yeah, the mom and pop shops with got like fucking, I don't know, like 10 people work there. Oh yeah, they're gonna process 1,500 pigs an hour. Like, what the this is yeah, thanks for pointing out that absurdity. Good God. No, this is good, because now people are gonna be working at a not as ridiculous, I'm not gonna say reasonable necessarily, but not as ridiculous pace, and it's gonna be safer. The impact on consumer prices for ham, pork chops, and bacon isn't immediately clear and will depend on how the industry responds. Probably not a big impact. If slower speeds cause processors to supply less pork to the market, grocers and restaurants are left competing against each other. There's plenty of fucking pork on the market. We don't have a shortage of pork. Like, this isn't, unless there's something I'm just missing here, there isn't a problem. It's like, this isn't even like severely restricting the amount of pork you can process. It's just returning to the pre-Trump levels, which were fine before, and he upped it because like people are lobbying for being able to produce more and work their workers harder. Like, such a fucking joke. Small business meme is so stupid. Yeah, I don't know why people fall for that. Like, oh, think of the small businesses who are gonna be destitute because they don't have, now they're not allowed to process 1,500 hogs per hour, as if that's viable for them in the first place. Like, oh no, now they're only allowed to process 1,106 hogs per hour. Like, oh yeah, that's a reasonable goal for those people, is to be able to process that many pigs with their like 30 employees. Yeah, and like small businesses are often, the owners are just like pieces of shit. And they're so bourgeoisie regardless. The only like thing about that I would add as a caveat is that there's like lots of poor people who try to escape poverty by starting businesses, but just like keep failing and failing. So there's like, it's also a meme in the sense that it's like a scam as a way to bootstrap yourself out of poverty. And they might be bourgeois for like a brief temporary period while they're trying to succeed at business. And most businesses in the US fail, and fail pretty quickly. But they might technically be bourgeois for a little while, but it's just a way of trying to trick poor people to avoid like something that actually would help them with their poverty problem, like organizing a group and resisting capitalism. Or starting a fucking co-op even. Anyway. The group earlier said the judge's ruling would cut U.S. pork packing plant capacity by 2.5% and result in more than $80 million in reduced income for small hog farmers, according to an analysis conducted for the group by Iowa State University agricultural economist Dermot Hayes. The group said it will pursue all avenues to reverse the court decision. All right, yeah. The Washington-based North American Meat Institute, a trade group for the meat processing industry, said the judge's ruling could have significant unintended consequences, including that workers... Oh no, I already read that. Hayes in his analysis said some plant managers have told him they may add longer shifts or weekend work to help keep up production pace at slower rates. Maybe surely there's not that much demand for pork. Yeah, those are alternative methods of escaping poverty, I guess. They're not really sustainable, though. What you want to be doing is collaborating with the other people in your community, in your workplace, to organize. But I mean, an individual level, yeah, I guess those could work. The impact on consumer prices for hand pork, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Oh, I did already read this. Grocers and restaurants are left competing against each other for a small amount of pork, which would drive up the wholesale and retail pork prices, said Jason Lusk, head of the Department of Agricultural Economics at Purdue University. I mean, I doubt it. Like, I think there's plenty of pork. I don't think we've got a pork crisis on our hands here. Uber has recognized a union for drivers for the first time. So this is the big good news here. Uber has recognized a union for drivers for the first time. This was the first news on the list. I'm saving it for last because it's the good news. It's the big good news. And I guess the picture's just the Uber app. I'm really informative. Uber agreed to officially recognize one of the United Kingdom's largest trade unions on Wednesday, paving the way for collective negotiations regarding pensions, sick pay, and account deactivations. With the ride hailing a giant, the deal covers Uber drivers but excludes Uber Eats couriers. The fact that you have to negotiate over account deactivations is fucking dystopian as shit. I'm not even sure what that's referring to because I've never done Uber, because I'm aware that it's a scam and most people don't even make enough money to cover the expenses of gas involved in working at Uber or for them. But if there's like some issue of like not being able to deactivate your account as you want to, like, you're not allowed to deactivate your Uber account. We don't approve of that. Like, that kind of, there's a lot of shit like that with these tech companies. It's not allowing you to have that kind of control over your profile, your account with them. The deal between GMB, a general trade union with over 600,000 members, and Uber has been met with both praise and skepticism from labor experts and activists. The move comes months after the UK Supreme Court ruled in February that Uber drivers are in fact workers, not self-employed contractors. After initially arguing that the ruling only applied to a select few drivers, Uber later changed course in March, stating that it would treat drivers as workers. Which, did they mention? They didn't mention the California thing, did they? Where they're treated as contractors. Because they're only talking about the UK, but yeah, in California, they also ruled that they were private contractors. Or, yeah, no, that's how it was, and they stopped that law that was going to make them designated as employees. That's what it was. It's important to note that while Uber drivers in the UK are classified as workers, meaning they are entitled to rights such as the national minimum wage and holiday pay, they do not actually have employment status. In the UK, employment status comes with, among other things, protections against unfair dismissal. Only they had that. I wish we had that in the US, man. You got at-will employment here. Which means even if they pass a law saying that they can't discriminate against you and fire you for being like the wrong race or whatever, they could still fire you for some made-up bullshit reason to cover up for the actual reason that they're being discriminatory. If they can fire you for any reason, you can't restrict what they fire you for, because they'll just make up some bullshit excuse. A joint statement from GMB and Uber sent to Motherboard. The two parties described the agreement as a groundbreaking step forward for drivers' rights and protections. Uber is the only major private hire operator to offer these protections, and no other operator has followed this move. Shut up. We're claiming credit for doing the bare fucking minimum. It's like those fast food companies who are saying like, hey, or no, Amazon was the one who was boasting about like, hey, we will pay our employees $15 an hour. Like, yeah, that's supposed to be the minimum wage that people are advocating for right now. That's not a gloat. Like, today the protection of drivers will be advanced even further as Uber and GMB pledge to come together to improve the future of platform work. When tech private hire companies and unions work together like this, everyone benefits. Bringing dignified, secure employment back to the world of work. Mick Ricks, national officer at GMB, added, now we call on all other operators to file suits. Fucking collaborationist unions. Yeah, so like we're gonna get you the what status is it? Classified as workers, but not having employment status. See, if the unions weren't collaborationist, they would get you employment status, so that you would get those benefits. This is just tossing people crumbs, being like, "Hey, here, have the little crumbs, have the crumbs, and then don't shut up, don't raise a stir. Stop asking for things. Stop asking for fair treatment. Just take the crumbs, pro. Fuck this. I mean, it's better than it was before, but this isn't good enough. Fucking the dignity of work. Fuck you." Dignified, secure employment back to the world of work. Ugh. No. Pay them more. Give them the benefits. That's what you fucking do. Not everybody has reacted to the agreement with enthusiasm. In a statement, the App and Drivers Couriers Union, which originally brought Uber to the Supreme Court, said it was not prepared to enter into an agreement with Uber, describing the news as a welcome development, but also urging caution. Okay. Maybe a little bit more sober. Uber has continued to selectively apply the Supreme Court's judgment, the ADCU argued, pointing out that while Uber did agree to pay riders a minimum wage, it only does so during trips, not in between them. So you're off the clock if you're not driving somebody somewhere. Like, the time that you're sitting there available and waiting for a job isn't considered on the clock. Yeah, okay. Fucking slimy little bastards with their loopholes. Much of drivers' time is actually spent driving between customers or waiting around for... Oh, so even if you're driving to a customer, that's not on the clock. Not even sitting and waiting for getting a job, but driving to your next customer. Much of driver's time is actually spent driving between customers or waiting around for a new trip to come in, which is time which isn't paid or factored into many estimates of wages earned by gig workers. Right, which is a big part of why most people who do Uber get paid less than the cost of gasoline involved in what they're doing. At this time, ADCU is not prepared to enter into a recognition agreement with Uber, the union wrote. This is because Uber continues to violate basic employment laws, such as the right to minimum wage for all working time and holiday pay, despite the recent UK Supreme Court ruling in our favor. The ADCU also pointed to anti-union behavior from Uber in the United States, even as the company seeks to strike similar deals that fall short of employment status. Last year, the company spent millions of dollars on Proposition 22 in California to prevent having to classify its drivers as workers. Labor groups, including the ADCU, have accused the company of engaging in similar tactics in New York and elsewhere, including in Canada. Of course they are. They don't want to pay people. That's the whole scam. They make all their money from the money that they don't pay the workers. The workers are doing the work and creating the value for the company, and the company is keeping it as profit and giving the workers back as little as they can get away with. Just enough so that the workers continue to work for them. can't let the workers, starve to death. They got to be able to eat enough to keep working. And, you got to follow, like, the law. Find loopholes to pay less money, but, you don't want to get fined, right? Don't pay any more than you can get away with is the whole deal. That's where they make all that well, Uber actually isn't even profitable, is the funny thing. But that's how you keep your profit from being too low in the negatives. They're not even profitable. They're propped up by the stock market and speculation. The ADCU also pointed to anti-union behavior from Uber in the United States, even as the company seeks to strike similar deals that fall short of employment status. Last year, the company spent millions of dollars on Proposition 22 in California to prevent having to classify its drivers as workers. Labor groups, including the ADCU, have accused the company of engaging in similar tactics in I already read that. Uber's agreement with GMB comes amidst increased lobbying efforts across Europe for Prop 22 style legislation, seen by many as an attempt to move public discourse away from the worker status debate in the European Union, as the European Union mulls possible reforms for the gig economy. Uber's not even a bubble. I mean, it's just a scam. Though it's a taxi service that's classified outside of the sector that taxi services are in. Taxis are like transportation or whatever, and there are certain regulations that are tied to that sector. But Uber is a tech company, so it is able to operate without any of those regulations, even though what it is doing is taxi service. And that taxi services also have Uber-style apps. It's a pure scam. But they don't even make enough money to turn a profit. I don't think they've ever turned a profit. It's just a way of, like, promising the sky to the investors. It's not like a bubble would be that, like, it's profitable and the stock is going up and stuff, and then it crashes once people realize it's like hollow, but they already know that it's not making money. It's never made money. So, like, I don't know, maybe it's something. The stock does keep going up, so I guess maybe it's a bubble, but it's not fooling anybody that it's making money. It's losing money constantly. It's only ever lost money. Money laundering, maybe, I don't know. It might just be that one of those things where it's like, hey, eventually it'll turn around and make money once it undercuts and replaces everything else. But yeah, Uber is just a complete scam. And if you can't make money with something like that, as just the general rule, if you have a business that is necessary, but you can't do it profitably, just do it in public sector. Cornering the market. Yeah, that's the strategy. I don't know if they'll be able to turn it into something profitable, because I think that transportation has become efficient enough that it just may not be a profitable enterprise anymore. It might just be the case that you can't really profit from transportation because it's become too efficient because of the falling rate of profit. At which point, the logical thing to do is to move it into the public sector, where there is no requirement to be profitable. But the service is something that is necessary for society to function, so you just pay for it at cost. You pay for it at cost and don't seek to extract profit from it. That's the logical thing to do under capitalism, but that's not what's going to happen. Unless you get some kind of maverick politician running things to ensure that it does, which we're not, because nobody who's competent enough to do that is in politics at that level anymore. So it's just another case of the system is not going to be able to find a reasonable solution to this problem. If there is like a bubble popping situation with Uber or with its competitors who also have the same problem, transportation is going to get fucked up really bad. But like what we should do, obviously, we should have public transportation, high-speed rail, light rail in cities. Like the United States used to do fucking 100 years ago. We had trolleys everywhere. We don't now, because there was a conspiracy to sell people cars. It's the GM streetcar conspiracy. It was GM, Firestone Tires, Standard Oil, a couple others, I think, bought up the trolley companies and dismantled the light rail to build roads and make people buy cars. So yeah, it's all fucking bullshit. Cars are a psyop. They're not a psyop, they're an artificially created market. There's a good documentary on this. It's on YouTube. It's called Taken for a Ride. That'll tell you the story. What's a nice feeling? Driving is a nice feeling, but it's not a practical method of transportation inside of a city compared to the alternatives that exist. Even just like a bus is vastly superior. But the best solution that we have for that is light rail, whether that's like subways or trolleys. It's a case of a business with a particular product that it wants to push on people, pushing it into a situation where it's not a suitable solution to the problem. Take the bike pill. Bikes are also pretty good. Bikes are pretty good, depending on how far you have to go and all that. But you need cities that are designed for bikes. You need cities that are designed for bikes. You need cities that are designed for trolleys and subways and buses. But they've been designed around cars, in the West at least, which is massively detrimental. There's a good YouTube video on that too, by S.G. Collins. It's called Return to Civilization, and it's about the impact on architecture of a car-based transportation system and how it's changed the way that cities are laid out, but also like alternative things for the future. But yeah, Uber is like a tumor on a tumor, basically. Cars is the basis for transportation, is a fucking tumor on society, and then Uber is a tumor on top of that. But yeah, the people driving for Uber do need to agitate more for better treatment. They also should, as they gain momentum from that, hopefully agitate for changing the fucking infrastructure around transportation. But all right, that's it for the news stories. Let me check real quick, see if there's anything else that got posted in the thread. Looks like that's it. Yeah. All right, so I think that's gonna be it for me tonight. I'll wrap it up. I'll be back doing the news on Monday. Might pop on Saturday morning for mess around, maybe read something, maybe play some games, I don't know. But news will be back Monday. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Yeah, whether you're still here or not, I appreciate it. Always happy to inform and entertain. And remember to go forth and agitate, educate, and organize.
That's all, folks.